subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Conspicuous seat. The three pirates of Roger's pirate group, gold, silver, and bronze, all stared at Linlin in disbelief. At the same time, some powerful men who were still conscious looked at Linlin in shock. Some of them couldn't believe it. A girl who looked like a giant girl who hadn't grown up yet, but should be less than 15 years old, could actually use Conqueror's Haki so skillfully. Linlin, you are too reckless. However, fortunately, Boss Ai Air is not here, otherwise these guys would be beaten to death. Hey, at least let these celestial dragons play some surplus value, right? Moss, Locke, Jane, and others, no longer disguised, tore off the cloak on the body, took off the toad sunglasses on the body, revealing the true face. BB, Fur Tribe, Long-Legged Tribe, Fishman Tribe, looking at Locke and others who followed Linlin. The gold, silver, and bronze trio of Roger's pirate group were all surprised. I never thought that the other party's companion was actually a special race. Mama. Sorry, I can't control my anger. Linlin grabbed Napoleon at his waist. Staring at these celestial dragons with a grin, he said indifferently, "Although I really want to kill them, they're still useful, so let's spare their lives. Chop off their limbs and cut off their tongues." The three members of Roger's pirate group in the corner. This woman, at such a young age, is really cruel. If they really do that, the world government will probably go crazy, right? Rayleigh, Jabba, the opportunity has come. Let's go. Roger's eyes lit up. He took his two companions with him and quietly retreated. And although Moss and others noticed it, they didn't care too much. After all, it's not like before. The fallen angel pirates are not going to stay dormant any longer. It is destined to be famous in the sea and show its fangs to the world. They are not afraid of exposing their identities at all. Everyone next, you'd better not get involved and leave this island immediately. Looking at the other few dozen pirates who were not stunned, Locke kindly reminded them there. Among these pirates, some are from New World. Some of them were newcomers who had just arrived at Sabaody Archipelago. However, they were able to maintain consciousness under the impact of Linlin's conquerors, which showed that they were quite strong. Of course, they were not afraid of them. Are you really going to attack celestial dragons? Hey, are you guys crazy? This is none of our business. Get out of here. You are crazy. Aren't you afraid of attracting Marine Admiral? Damn it, if you want to die, don't drag us along. Take the others and leave. Hearing Locke's warning, other pirates who originally just wanted to join in the fun and see if they could take pictures of devil fruit. All of them were shocked and sweaty. They could only curse inwardly. They didn't dare to delay any longer and immediately took their unconscious companions. They ran outside. Del, what's going on? Fur Tribe? Fish People? The 5 celestial dragons were shocked, but they did not hesitate and took out their pistols. They pointed at Linlin and others and said viciously, "You rude and lowly people, go to hell." All of a sudden, the celestial dragons pulled the trigger continuously. Bullets broke through the air and rushed over. Boo. However, they were taken lightly by several people. It was just that the body or head was tilted slowly. Easily dodged. Linlin did not dodge. Several fast bullets were shot directly at the body. They could not break through the extremely tough steel skin at all. It was instantly squeezed and deformed and bounced out. Linlin, don't be angry. Just then, backstage of the auction house, a young, beautiful, tall figure walked out slowly holding a treasure box. Throwing the treasure box to Linlin, he said to her with a smile, "This kind of stuff is not worth your personal effort. Just let me test the pet fruit ability C. I just got Keen. Did you eat the pet fruit?" Looking at the woman holding a long whip and wearing a Chong Sam, Moss asked in surprise. In order to prevent any accidents, the other party was not with them before and slipped to the backstage early and directly snatched the devil fruit that celestial dragons had bid for, in order to avoid being intercepted by others. Hey, Master Ai Air said that I can choose one from them. Naikin smiled and said, "I think the pet fruit is much more interesting than the mirror fruit. That's right, the devil fruit to be auctioned this time." One is Paramecia pet fruit, and the other is Paramecia mirror fruit. Both were bought by celestial dragons. V. Damn BC, you actually secretly ate the fruit that I bought. You were so audacious. Several celestial dragons were extremely angry, staring at Naikin. They never expected that the devil fruit they bought at a high price was secretly eaten by this woman who came out of nowhere. Er. Linlin's eyes turned cold. The big hand swung directly in the air. Woohoo! A violent wind pressure forcibly ate these celestial dragons. All the dragons were thrown out. They fell hard in front of Naikin. Okay, Naikin, I'll leave it to you. I don't want to see their arrogant look in 3 minutes. Linlin glanced at these celestial dragons with disgust and said indifferently, Naikin, 25 years old, from the West Blue Flower Country. She is not a member of the original Dream House. She's a female pirate that Ai accidentally rescued at the edge of Calm Belt a few years ago. She is already quite powerful. She is a grandmaster of Chinese medicine fist. Under Ai Air's teaching over the years, she has mastered all 6 styles and 2-color Haki and has reached a higher level. She is also an excellent ship doctor. Not only is she a grandmaster of pharmacology, but she is also good at poisoning. Now, she has eaten the Paramecia pet fruit. It's perfect to deal with these celestial dragons. Understood. Naikin flicked the long whip and said grimly, Leave these guys to me. I promise to make them obedient. A few years ago, she was killed by Ai Air. After Air was rescued, she came to the Dream House. Not only was she attracted by his handsome face, but she was also deeply impressed by his powerful strength and lofty goals, and was willing to follow that adult. She had no good feelings for these celestial dragons who did not regard anyone other than themselves as people, arbitrarily treated other races as slaves, and oppressed and humiliated them at will. I'm bleeding. Damn pariah, what do you want to do? If you offend us, the Marine Admiral will be dispatched. Come on, call the Marine Admiral over for me. Damn Marine, they still don't come. They must be executed. One by one, the celestial dragons who were in a mess and had their heads broken and bleeding changed color and shouted loudly. But there were still 2 celestial dragons who were still extremely arrogant. They thought that the other party didn't dare to touch them at all. A whip was thrown out. The faces of the 2 celestial dragons were instantly torn open and blood was dripping. They screamed there. How dare you be so arrogant? Naikin was full of sarcasm. She raised her right hand slowly and laughed strangely. Don't you like to enslave others the most? Then try being enslaved by a collar. Dead. Out. Out, she said. She swung her right hand suddenly. Green light flashed out like lightning, rushed to these celestial dragons. Z58. What is this? Damn it, let me go. In an instant, those celestial dragons were horrified, but they had no time to dodge, and the green halo tightly wrapped around their necks. They desperately pulled the green collar on their necks. Okay, my loyal and humble celestial dragon slaves, crawl over here on your knees, Naikin said jokingly, swinging the whip hard, causing the ground to crack. A hole. Chapter 65. Linlin's ferocity. The 3-eyed girl Lillian what? Damn you lowlife. How dare you humiliate the bloodline of the Creator? I want you dead. This saint will chop you into pieces. Who will help me call the Marine Admiral? Over. Hearing this, the arrogant celestial dragons were furious. They stared at Naikin fiercely with murderous eyes, but the glowing green collar on his neck suddenly shook violently. Plop, plop. In the blink of an eye, one by one, their bodies were out of control. They knelt there and crawled towards Naikin. They were extremely humiliated and angry, and kept cursing. Damn it, my body is out of control. Damn you lowlife. I will skin you alive and pull out your tendons. How dare you treat the noble descendant of the Creator like this? Yes, you will definitely be tortured to death, and 603 will chop you up and feed you to the dogs. On the auction table, Naikin in a red cheongsam, folding her arms, squeezing her exaggerated pride, looking down at these celestial dragons, she mocked them rudely. The celestial dragons who are high above you are nothing special, but you talk too much nonsense. All of you shut up. lie down like lowly slaves, and don't get up without orders. All shows. The green collar glowed. The celestial dragons who were kneeling there and crawling over still wanted to continue to curse. She could only shut her mouth tightly, her eyes spitting fire, and stared at each other fiercely, full of humiliation and anger. Pet fruit, what a terrifying ability. It can actually make people obedient like pets. It's impossible to resist. Moss, Locke, Jane, and others. Seeing this scene, they were all full of surprise. And the three-eyed girl with her mouth blocked in the cage couldn't help but widen her eyes. Somewhat incredible. Tisk, interesting ability. Throw the treasure box that Nakin threw to him to Moss. Linlin walked over, looking down at the celestial dragons who had tried to make her the 18th wife before. The huge right foot stepped directly on the other's head and even body and exerted force directly. Dead fat pig, you're dirty and rotten blood. I'm too lazy to touch a drop. You are also worthy of coveting my great-grandmother's peerless beauty. Go to hell and repent. Be a human in the next life. Crack, not only the head burst. Even the body was trampled into a meat paste. Blood splattered. Osos. The celestial dragons, who were unable to speak because of the power of the pet fruit, could not help but stare with wide eyes, filled with shock, and stood there in a daze. They could not believe their eyes. They lay on the ground, looking up at Linlin in horror, their faces pale. They never thought that the other party would be so cruel and dare to kill the noble celestial dragons. They were not afraid of the crusade and pursuit of the marine and world government. Hey, Linlin, Moss's eyelids twitched. He didn't expect that Linlin would be so decisive and directly step on the celestial dragons that offended her. This shows how angry she was just now. It's okay, it's just a fat pig that didn't matter, Linlin said. She raised her right foot without hesitation. It pressed on the celestial dragon next to her, scaring him to death. He was pale and trembling all over, accompanied by a foul smell. A pool of yellow urine flowed directly from his body. You're scared to pee? Useless waste, so disgusting. Linlin kicked with great disgust. Although she had restrained her strength, she still kicked him out and smashed him against the wall. The whole person's face was distorted, and he curled up there in pain. Full of fear. Woo. He stepped on the next celestial dragon again, pressed on the white spacesuit, and wiped off the boots. Bloodline, then retracted her right foot. She said nonchalantly, there are other celestial dragons. The innocent and romantic girl, with the guidance of Ai and Gerd a while ago. The suppressed ferocity gradually began to be released. Even Moss, Jane, and others could not help but be subconsciously in awe. Okay, don't delay anymore. There may have been a commotion outside, and Marine will probably be here soon. Nakin smiled. She tried a bunch of keys snatched from the backstage. She opened the cage of the three-eyed girl and untied the collar on her neck. Then, she threw it to Moss in front of her. Here are the keys. You go to the back and take away the slaves who are willing to leave with us. No problem. Moss, Locke, and others did not delay. The task of appeasing and recruiting the three-eyed girl was handed over to Linlin, Nakin, and others. She walked straight to the backstage. Thank you. Untied the restraints. Walked out of the cage. The three-eyed girl felt weak all over and almost stumbled and fell. Those bastards. They injected me with tranquilizers. Mama, you have nowhere to go, right? Linlin looked at the three-eyed girl and asked with a smile, do you want to leave with us? For a three-eyed tribe like you who is on the verge of extinction, wherever you go is equivalent to a moving humanoid Bailey, and those greedy guys will not let you go. Naakin on the side also smiled and said, only our fallen angel pirates are your only substitute. Fallen angel pirates? The three-eyed girl's pupils shrank sharply, looking at Linlin and Nakin in surprise. Grabbing Nakin's clothes, she was full of excitement. Then the fallen angel Ai is he in there too? Of course she knew the fallen angel Ai, the boy who was offered a bounty of 600 million Baileys at the age of 9 a few years ago, but it caused a huge sensation in the whole sea. Even she, who was on a remote island, had seen reports about the other party. Moreover, the other party, like herself, was a special race, wanted and rewarded by the world government. For point 9, the other party's shocking performance made her, who had to use tape to cover her forehead and her third eye since she was a child, and announced to the public that her forehead was burned and had ugly scars, extremely envious and admired. Of course, the leader of the fallen angel pirates is Lord Ai Erbafu. Naakeen held her head high, full of pride, and her eyes were even more fanatical. He is determined to build a dream country where all races can coexist peacefully. There is no racial discrimination, and there are no slaves, and everyone can live together harmoniously. Do you want to join us? Of course, Lillian nodded repeatedly. The originally pale face was flushed at this moment. She was so excited that she said, "I went out to sea to find the whereabouts of the fallen angel Ai Erbafu." Chapter 66. Natural Observation Haki, Gold, Silver, and Bronze Ghosts. You went out to sea to find Master Ai Erbafu. Inside the auction hall, several celestial dragons turned pale and were filled with fear. They were tightly bound by pet collars and knelt there in humiliation and unable to move. But Naakeen and Linlin didn't care about these celestial dragons at all. They looked at the three-eyed girl in front of them with surprise, and they couldn't believe it. Yes, the fallen angel Ai Erbafu, but the idol of our special races. Wipe the embarrassed face. Lillian nodded seriously and said in a low voice, "Races like the Fishmen, Long-Armed Tribe, and Long-Legged Tribe are okay. As long as they hide in their own tribes, they are relatively safe. But all along, whether it is the Three-Eyed Tribe, the Bacani Tribe, or the Lunaria Tribe, our rare races have been on the verge of extinction under the constant wanted and hunted by the world government." Speaking of this, her three eyes seemed to glow. Holding her hands, she said with admiration, "But no one has ever dared to truly resist the behemoth of the world government. They can only flee and hide under the hunt of the world government and the Marine. Only Lord Ai Erbafu dared to stand up and resist. Not only did he follow the giants to destroy the Marine fortress, but it is said that he later destroyed a Marine fleet alone. And at that time, he was only 9 years old. When Ai Erbafu was killed by naval soon after the naval headquarters offered a bounty of 600 million berries. He destroyed the fleet led by Kong, who was then the powerful vice admiral of the naval headquarters and the head of the Marine G-11 branch base, and escaped unscathed. The news spread all over the country. It caused quite a stir. It also made Lillian realize clearly, this is a man who really dared to resist the world government, and she was full of infinite admiration and respect for him. It was from that time that she made up her mind to practice hard. When she grows up, she will go out to sea to find the fallen angel Ai Erbafu. Follow in his footsteps. Mama, so that's the case. Linlin suddenly realized. She held her head high and showed a proud smile. Of course, Ai Erbafu Oni-chan is the best in the world. Hearing that the other party admired Ai Erbafu so much, she felt proud. She couldn't help but feel more friendly and favorable to this three-eyed girl. "My name is Linlin, and I am a fighter of the fallen angel pirates." Linlin was a little happy. She took the initiative to introduce the three-eyed girl in front of her. "She is Naakeen, the ship doctor of the fallen angel pirates. Hello, from now on. We should be people on the same boat." Naakeen said with a smile. The opponent's strength is not weak, and the three-eyed tribe is said to have special talents and abilities with great potential. I believe it could be of great use. "Hello, my name is Lillian. I am a three-eyed tribe and a swordsman." Lillian introduced herself, but soon she was filled with indignation and gritted her teeth and said, "But if those guys were not so despicable, I would not be caught by them at all. I will not forgive those despicable bastards." She was born with a strong observation haki. It can easily cover an island and feel any subtle changes in the atmosphere. After years of hard practice, she has mastered the good swordsmanship and has become a swordsman who can advance and slash. Unexpectedly, not long after going out to sea, before officially arriving in New World, she was targeted by the slave capture team. But at first, the other party didn't know that she was from the Three-Eyed Tribe. They just wanted to capture her and sell her as a slave, but later they accidentally discovered her identity as a Three-Eyed Tribe, and they dispatched a large number of people to hunt her down relentlessly. Unexpectedly, the leader of the slave-hunting team was actually a user of the paramecia rust fruit. In the battle, she was unaware of it in advance, and the other party used their ability to destroy her weapon directly, turning it into a pile of useless rust. Moreover, those guys not only coated the weapons with poison that could make people weak, but also used gas directly. In the end, she was outnumbered and was captured by the hateful slave-hunting team and sold to the Black Flag Chamber of Commerce. She was escorted to the Sabaody archipelago for auction. "It's okay, Lillian. Don't be angry. None of those guys can escape." Linlin crossed his arms and sneered. "When the time comes, our fallen angel pirates will help you get revenge. Slave-hunting teams like this can be easily investigated by them with a little intelligence. It's too easy to crush them to death." Moss, Locke, and others came out with several different and somewhat embarrassed figures. "These are the slaves who are willing to leave with us. The others who are unwilling have been released. However, there's a slave of the Fishman tribe who seems to have been taken away by the Roger pirates. After all, only a few are willing to leave with them. More slaves who were caught here in auction want to return to their hometown. So they did not force it, untied the slave collar for him, and let him go. However, whether they can return home safely depends on their own luck. They are not saints, and it is a great mercy to rescue them. They have no obligation to send them back. TSK Jane, don't you send your compatriots away?" They looked at the slaves who were willing to follow them and were ready to join the fallen angel pirates. Nakin pointed to the mermaid girl who was just released from the glass cage, wet and beautiful, and said in surprise, "As long as she goes into the water with the swimming speed of mermaids, no one should be able to catch her, and we can return directly to the Fishmen Island, right?" Among the slaves, following Moss and others, in addition to the slaves of the Fur tribe and the Long-Legged tribe, there are also several human slaves, 2 strong and sturdy young male slaves, and 3 human female slaves with good figures. Surprisingly, there were some mermaids who were extremely beautiful and pitiful, but did not leave directly. I don't want to go back to the Fishman Island." The mermaid girl was a little nervous, but she still said loudly and firmly, "I want to follow you and see the wonderful world," although she was almost sold as a slave. But she was innocent and full of yearning for the dream country described by Jane, who saved her fellow fishmen. The goal of the fallen angel pirates is to establish a great kingdom where all races can coexist peacefully. There are no more slaves, no more racial discrimination, and everyone can live happily together. In particular, seeing Moss, Locke, Barry, and others, all from different races. It is said that even their boss is a special race that is endangered in the legend, the Lunaria tribe. It made her believe in the other party and determined that they would not deceive herself, let alone hurt herself. Otherwise, they would not have untied her slave collar. So even though as long as she nodded, the other party could help her return to the sea, and then she could safely return to the Fishmen Island in the deep sea, completely ending this nightmare experience. But the girl still couldn't suppress her inner impulse. She yearned to join such a team and wanted to follow the fallen angel pirates to witness the vast and wonderful sea. She just didn't want to stay in the oppressive deep sea anymore, so she ran out. Unfortunately, she was caught by humans. We too, whether it was the slaves of the Fur tribe or the Longlegs tribe, or the young human slaves, they were all full of determination. Among them, the 3 female slaves made the choice because their hometown was too far away. Because, in these days, they have fully witnessed the darkness and greed of human nature, and they know how bad the climate of the Grand Line is. Without a noble status, without strong strength, and having a beautiful face, it is itself a sin. They thought that they could not go back safely by themselves, and they had nowhere to go, so they might as well follow the fallen angel pirates. At least as long as they don't make mistakes, this pirate group that can accept different races and has ambitious goals should not oppress them. Otherwise, they would not have deliberately untied the slave collars, saved themselves and others, and set them free. The 2 human youths either had nowhere to go or were unwilling to be ordinary. In order to change the fate of 987, they took a gamble. They chose to join the fallen angel pirates. The slaves of the Fur tribe and the Longlegs tribe were moved by the dreams described by their compatriots, such as Moss and Locke. They followed voluntarily. Mama, if you're prepared, you can follow if you want to. Linlin raised her eyebrows. Her eyes became sharp, looking down at several slaves, and said bluntly, "However, since you have chosen to join, you must be fully prepared. Pirates are not playing house, and you can't come and go as you please. My lord, please rest assured, Yes, we are mentally prepared. I will never back down halfway." Looking at the arrogant tall figure in front of him, the faces of the slaves who had just been rescued turned pale, and they couldn't help but feel great pressure. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads, and they hurriedly expressed their opinions there at the first time. "Then it depends on your performance next." Linlin didn't care. Nodding without comment, she suddenly remembered. But Roger Pirates? Are they the three sneaky and powerful guys just now? In the previous meeting place, under the impact of her conqueror's Haki, no one lost consciousness on the spot and fainted. In addition to the celestial dragons that she deliberately bypassed, there are also some powerful pirates. But the only one she could really care about were the three guys with strong and strange auras. "Yes, I've seen the bounty on them." Moss nodded and said with a smile, "It seems that they have done something extraordinary. I heard that the Captain Goldweldy Roger was offered a bounty of 200 million Baileys by Marine. The Deputy Captain Silver Rayleigh, nicknamed Silver, has a bounty of 149 million Baileys, and the third in command, Bronze Copper Jabba, has a bounty of 110 million Baileys. In the World Economic Newspaper, they're called the three evil spirits of gold, silver, and copper." Chapter 67, Rage. One fortress under attack, boom boom, Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the Marshal's office, on a brand new desk, a white-shelled, encrypted din mushy suddenly opened its eyes and kept calling. Moses, I'm Marine Marshal Harmons William." Harmons William's eyes fixed. I immediately picked up the phone and answered the call. "Harmons William, what do you do as a Marine Marshal?" The din mushy suddenly simulated an old figure with a long white beard and angrily scolded. "The world nobles were attacked at the doorstep of Marine, and you Marines didn't even know? What?" Hearing this, Harmons Williams' face changed drastically, and he lost his voice in shock. "Celestial dragons were attacked? I'm very sorry, Your Excellency, 5 elders. I was too negligent." He broke out in cold sweat on his forehead and stood up directly. But since he had no idea about the specific situation, he could only bite the bullet and ask, "Excuse me, what's going on?" Although the other party did not reveal his identity, he had recognized the caller's voice at the first time. The other party was the highest position of celestial dragons, one of the 5 elders who controlled the highest power of world government. Even he, the Marine Marshal, was nothing in the eyes of those 5 big men. It's not easy to retreat, but it's really not easy to control him. Early this morning, 5 celestial dragons left the Holy Land together and went to Sabeti Archipelago, saying that they were going to participate in an auction. The outline simulated by din mushy changed. He seemed to be a different person, also full of anger. But just a few minutes ago, the life card of Saint Hannock suddenly burned to ashes. The other celestial dragons and their guards have all lost contact and cannot be contacted. At present, the intelligence personnel of Sabeti Archipelago have confirmed someone attacked the auction house and attacked the celestial dragons. What? The celestial dragons were killed. Hammond's Williams' brain rumbled. The life card burned out. Doesn't this mean that the person is dead? Just offending the celestial dragons is already an unforgivable crime, and the Marine Admiral has to go out in person. Now that the celestial dragons have been killed, it is simply an unimaginable, huge storm. His face was livid. He was shocked and angry. Who was so bold? The blood of the Creator is sacred and inviolable. Anyone who offends celestial dragons will die. Send a Marine Admiral immediately. Dispatch the fleet. Surround the Sabeti Archipelago, and never let the criminals escape. Obviously, the celestial dragons were killed, and the 5 elders were furious. Not giving any face to the Marine Marshal Hammond's William, he said coldly. "Otherwise, you should not be the Marine Marshal. Yes, please rest assured. I will arrange it immediately." Haemon's William did not dare to refute at all. He could only be respectful and make promises there. After hanging up the phone, his face was uglier than ever. Damn it, it happened at this time. He couldn't help but be angry. In New World, the fallen angel Ai Erbafu, who had disappeared for several years, suddenly attacked the G5 fortress. He had just sent Admiral Ironclaw Hack out, and he should be almost at the Holy Land Mariewa now. But in this situation, celestial dragons are obviously the priority. The matter of the fallen angel Ai Erbafu can only be put aside for the time being. Someone, Marshal William, the adjutant, rushed in. "Call Admiral Hack back immediately and tell him that the situation is urgent and the mission is canceled first." William's face was livid, and he ordered in a deep voice, "I will arrange for the personnel of the Marine base near the front half of New World to go to the G5 fortress to investigate the situation, and let him rush to Sabati Archipelago as soon as possible. Tell Admiral Hack to catch the criminal who killed Saint Hannock and rescue the other kidnapped celestial dragons safely." "What?" Adjutant Ensign was stunned. "I never thought that a good world noble would be attacked. Moreover, it seems that celestial dragons were killed. This is simply a huge storm. Immediately follow the Buster Call specifications and summon 5 Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals and tens of thousands of Marines. Send 10 top-level battleships and 20 medium and large warships to surround Sabati Archipelago and block the entire sea area. No ships can enter or leave. The entire fleet is commanded by the Hack Admiral." Gulp. After listening to the order of the Marine Marshal, the ensign's forehead was sweating and he was swallowing his saliva. A fleet of more than 30 warships of various types, and it was commanded by the Admiral of Headquarters himself. For such a battle, ordinary Hack demon orders have been chosen. The difference is that no devastating bombardment has been issued to Sabati Archipelago yet. It is just to completely wipe it out. What are you still standing there for? Looking at the adjutant standing there stupidly, this Marshal Marine's face suddenly turned black, and he couldn't help shouting, "Why don't you treat him quickly?" Yes, and Hammond's William could never have thought of it. Just when he had just given the order to urgently transfer Hack Admiral, who had just arrived at the port below the Red Line, back across the towering Red Line. At the entrance of the front half of the New World, the Marine G1 branch is located almost symmetrically with the island of Naval Headquarters Marineford. This branch fortress, which can be said to be the Holy Land Mariewa at the gateway of the New World, welcomed an uninvited guest. Woo! The whole sky suddenly darkened for some reason. It was covered with dark clouds and gloomy. Moreover, a huge monster suddenly appeared above. It was flying down from thousands of meters high towards the G1 fortress at an astonishing speed. What is that? A strange snake with wings. Gulu, this is too big. Damn it, it suddenly appeared from the sky. What kind of monster is that? No, it's not a monster. It's the fallen angel Ai Erbafu. What? For a while, Marines were constantly alarmed. In particular, a large number of Marines had already gathered at the port. They were waiting for the arrival of the Hack Admiral and preparing to go to the G5 fortress for reinforcement. They all looked up and looked at the huge figure in the sky with shock, which covered the sky and gave people infinite pressure. It was a feathered snake that was hundreds of meters long, with dazzling golden horns, eerie scales, and black eyes and large wings. Its cold snake eyes were looking down at the Marine below, carrying fierce wind pressure, flying down quickly. Enemy attack, in an instant, accompanied by a sharp alarm. Buzz! A terrifying wave spread out. Ai Erbafu's huge and cold voice, with a terrifying soul deterrence, echoed above the Marine G1 fortress. Life or death. Sucking DX. What is this? I can't move at all. It feels like my soul is leaving. No, I don't want to die. Kagagon. Countless Marines panicked. But the next moment, they screamed one after another. Souls left their bodies one after another and rushed towards the huge and terrifying Quetzalcoatl. His eyes rolled back. His face was horrified. and he lost his breath directly. It seems that it will be smoother than expected. Easily harvested the souls of those Marines. Ai Air, who transformed into Quetzalcoatl and merged with Gerd, the soul fruit user, under the effect of Lily's chaos fruit, said with satisfaction. He thought he would meet the Admiral of Headquarters. But observation Haki didn't find any decent strong people at all. The only slightly stronger aura was similar to that of Vice Admiral Bolt, the commander of the G5 base he had killed before. It was probably a Marine Vice Admiral who was in charge of the G1 Fortress base commander. Well, the number is more than that of the G5 Fortress, which is enough to build an air base. In the spiritual world, Gerd's voice sounded as if a little helpless. But if you want to mass-produce a large number of homies, it's still a little short. This time, the Marine and even the world government were offended so badly. If you really want to start the Tato land plan, it will obviously require a huge number of homie soldiers. Maybe at that time, you may have to face the buster call of the Marine. These Marine, good Nuajiao, souls are obviously far from enough. Then go over and join Linlin and the others. Lily on the side suggested there. Celestial dragons were attacked. Naval headquarters will definitely be alarmed. A large number of troops will be dispatched, and they are likely to be truly elite. Just in time to harvest a wave. A hole. Just then, in a huge building, a figure with great momentum rushed out in the air. Vice Admiral Wright, the base commander of G1 Fortress, was furious, and his figure was extremely swift. His huge fist became as black as ink and slammed into the huge Quetzalcoatl. Damn fallen angel Ai Air, what have you done? Bang! What? Vice Admiral Wright widened his eyes. The behemoth did not dodge or evade at all. He let him punch the huge head, but he could not shake it at all. Are you tickling me? The huge Quetzalcoatl looked at him indifferently. Hiss, chirp. Jew. The next moment, he did not give the other party a chance to evacuate at all. A terrifying electric current visible to the naked eye suddenly flowed out from the extremely hard scales. It directly submerged Vice Admiral Wright. Chapter 68. Lure the tiger away from the mountain? Marine treasure house? It's not good. Celestial dragons have been attacked. Run. The Marine Admiral is coming. Damn it, what's going on? Who would dare to provoke celestial dragons? I always feel something is wrong. We can't stay here. Stop talking so much, run. Set sail immediately. Soon, the news that celestial dragons were attacked. It spread throughout the Sabati archipelago at an alarming speed, causing a huge panic in an instant. In the streets and alleys, countless pirates, civilians, nobles, and businessmen were all panicked and fled in a hurry. Some people have long been dissatisfied with those arrogant and domineering celestial dragons, or have been bullied by these high-ranking guys, and just feel angry. Some people gnash their teeth at the guys who dare to offend the world's nobles, blaming them for breaking the tranquility of Sabati archipelago. In short, many pirates and businessmen felt that something was wrong and that a disaster was about to happen. For fear of being affected, they had to set sail as soon as possible. Hey, what are you two doing here? At this moment, Peninsula Number 1, outside the auction house, Moss, who appeared like a ghost, patted the shoulders of the two CP agents who were hiding in the corner and peeking inside, and said with a smile, "If you want to see something, it would be better to walk in openly, isn't it?" The next moment, before the two CP agents who were frozen and cold were ready to fight back. Bang! Two big hands were already pressing their heads, as if they were holding two watermelons, and they hit each other hard. KG, accompanied by screams. Two bloody figures fell there. Heads were broken and blood was flowing, brains bursting. It was horrible. Fly finger pistol. At the same time, on the other side, Nakin smiled. She flicked her finger at the distant forest. Swish! A sharp finger force broke through the air like lightning. A figure hiding in the woods and watching with a monocular suddenly screamed, and a blood flower exploded on his chest. Falling down. Linlin, we just left the G1 Fortress. Now follow the life card to find you. Inside the auction house, in addition to the unconscious guests in the seats. At the entrance, there are many bloody corpses, all of whom were CP agents who tried to break in to rescue celestial dragons and were killed. And at the auction table, a celestial dragon grabbed the ground with his limbs, just like the humans or other intelligent races that they usually used as slaves. They knelt there in humiliation. Their eyes were filled with fear and anger. They couldn't speak, let alone resist. In front of them, Linlin was sitting there with her legs crossed. In her hand, she held a phone that was too small for her tall figure. Din mushy imitated Gerd's silhouette, and with the whistling wind, a somewhat unclear voice said, "How was the situation over there?" Moss and the others just killed a few blind guys." Linlin smiled and said, "But I believe Marine will soon surround us and is preparing to make a big fuss. I won't say more. Let Moss and the others prepare. Everything should proceed according to the original plan. Don't let anything go wrong at this critical moment. Mama, lure the tiger away from the mountain? No problem." The three-eyed girl Lillian, the mermaid girl Ely, and others on the side couldn't help but widen their eyes. Looking at Linlin and the others in some confusion, they were confused. Lure the tiger away from the mountain? There are other plans? Isn't their purpose to kidnap celestial dragons? Why are they waiting here stupidly for Marine to come and block them? Barry, have you mastered the power of the mirror fruit? Looking at the young man Barry from the Snakehead tribe in the original Lamb's house, Linlin asked directly with a smile. "We don't have much time." Baji, of course." Barry smiled strangely. 2 round mirrors appeared in his hand. "These 2 mirrors are marked. Even if they're far away, I can confirm their positions and open the mirror world at any time, find them and transfer them in the fastest time. As the user of the mirror fruit, he can not only open the mirror world by himself through the mirror, but also bring others in and out freely. He can also control the area of the mirror and enlarge or reduce them. I believe that the ability of the mirror fruit is far more than that. However, he has just become a user and needs to try and explore. Mama, I just wanted to get a few devil fruits," Linlin said happily. "Since you can successfully master the ability of the mirror fruit, let's empty their treasure house." Their original plan was to include the Paramecia mirror fruit that was about to be auctioned. Because the fallen angel pirates had already investigated that Kong, the youngest Marine, Admiral, had a confidential mission. A Pegasus Admiral is responsible for guarding the Holy Land, Mariewa, and only one, Ironclaw Admiral, is left at Naval Headquarters on standby. If their members can master their abilities in a short time after eating the mirror fruit, they would just play a bigger game. When the Sabaody Archipelago starts a big commotion, they will take advantage of the emptiness inside the Marine and the lack of defense, as usual, to empty the Marine's treasure house. If the new mirror fruit ability user cannot master the ability so quickly, then they will settle for the next best thing and only focus on the devil fruit that Marine has collected over the years. Moreover, even if the Marine Marshal did not leave Naval Headquarters, you can still take the risk to carry out this plan. It's just that you need to be more cautious. Then leave it to me and Moss. Beside Moss, a boy with pink hair, less than 2 meters tall, devilish white horns, and a sausage mouth smiled and said, "With his ancient species, the ability to fly in the form of a pseudo-toothed bird, and the ability of my door fruit, there will be no problem." Yutin, a former member of the Lamb's house. He has some ghost blood, so he has horns on his head. He is relatively young, currently only 16 years old, and his strength is only above average in the Dream House. But he is the ability user of the Paramecia door fruit. Within a certain range, he can open a space channel by opening a door and go to any location from another space without any obstacles. I'll help too. With a swish. With the ability of the mini fruit, the body is reduced to less than 1 centimeter, and the little Oz jumps on Wutan's shoulder and says with his teeth bared, he can't do things that require brains. But if he needs to work hard, he, an ancient giant, has plenty of strength. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to Sally. Moss also laughed. Sally is really amazing. Nakin couldn't help but nod. There was a bit of admiration in her tone. Even as proud as she is, she had to admit it. As the intelligence chief of the fallen angel pirates, Sally is worthy of being called a witch of change, and her methods are really admirable. The Paramecia Odo fruit, which can freely change her body shape and appearance, coupled with her own ventriloquism and superb acting skills that can easily simulate any sound, can almost perfectly disguise herself as any identity. Unexpectedly, at some point, she had sneaked into Marineford, the naval headquarters, without anyone noticing, and even mixed into the Marine building, which is known as the symbol of justice. Moreover, she quietly made the structure of the naval headquarters building inside and out clear. Even relying on his amazing memory, he drew out the route inside. Even the location of Marine's treasure house. Although he didn't investigate in detail to avoid being exposed, he had already figured out the general direction. With the general map provided by the other party, I believe that when the time comes, Wu Tan and his team can use the power of the door-to-door fruit to find the location of Marine's treasure house without much effort. It can avoid being discovered in advance to the greatest extent. If there are no real monsters in charge, the risk of exposure is very small. Even if there are other strong people in charge, their whereabouts are exposed and unfortunately discovered. As long as you are cautious enough, you can evacuate at the first time with the power of the door-to-door fruit. Leave safely. Without further delay, you should leave this island first and get ready, Linlin said with a smile, grabbed a few slave collars and threw them in front of several celestial dragons. Barry, you will be responsible for the support next, and you don't need to participate in the battle. First, get these guys in the mirror world and lock them up. Mama, they are very good bargaining chips. Chapter 69. The new generation of Marines, Sengoku and Garp. Bang at this moment. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. A brand new desk, disintegrated again. Heyman's Williams' face was livid. He clenched his fists tightly, furious. Fallen angel Ai damn little devil. I won't forgive you. He never thought of it. Just attacked G5 Fortress. But the other party still didn't restrain. It was so bold that it attacked G1 Fortress directly. At this time, Celestial Dragons was attacked, which made him wonder whether this incident was related to the fallen angel Ai. After all, the grievances between the Lunaria tribe and the world government can no longer be explained. For hundreds of years, the world government has been ordering the arrest and killing of the remnants of the Lunaria tribe, with the bold and lawless character of the fallen angel Ai. Even if he wanted to kidnap or even kill celestial dragons, directly retaliate and threaten the world government. It is not impossible. Marshal William, what should we do now? On the side, Ensign's lieutenant was sweating profusely, but he could only bite the bullet and ask for instructions carefully. The G5 Fortress had just been attacked by the fallen angel Ai and lost contact, and there was no time to send people to investigate the situation. As a result, in less than 2 hours, the G1 Fortress, which was located at the entrance of a new world and far away from the G5 branch, was suddenly attacked by the fallen angel Ai. The speed of the opponent was really too fast, but the celestial dragons were kidnapped in Sabaody Archipelago, and even some world nobles were killed. At this time, Hack Admiral needed to be dispatched. The higher-ups required to rescue celestial dragons at all costs and catch the daring criminals, so they could not go to the new world at all. X3. Heyman's William rubbed his eyebrows. Suddenly thinking of something, he asked in a deep voice, "Are Sengoku and Garp on vacation in Sabaody Archipelago? When I met them early this morning, I seemed to hear them arm in arm and saying they were going to Sabaody Archipelago." The adjutant was stunned. Then he responded uncertainly. Nothing else. The Sengoku and Garp mentioned by the marshal. These two could be said to be the most dazzling new stars of the new generation of Marines, too famous. Although they are young, the potential they show is catching up with the young Kong Admiral. One has the nickname of Buddha Sengoku, and at a young age, he has the rare ability of the mythical bee species like the Kong Admiral, and has the title of the resourceful general. The other is even more famous for the title of Iron Fist Garp. Although he is not a person with special abilities, his own physical skills and his attainments in armament Haki are catching up with the older generation of Marines. Although they are too young, their achievements are insufficient, their qualifications are too shallow, and their military ranks are not high. But they already have quite good strength. They are considered to be the seeds of future admirals. Immediately ask them to cancel their vacation and go to Peninsula Number 1. Hammond's William frowned and ordered without hesitation. Tell Sengoku Rear Admiral to take over Mac's Rear Admiral's command of the operation. Make sure to ensure the safety of celestial dragons and rescue celestial dragons first, but never let the criminals escape. Compared to Mac's Rear Admiral, who is the commander of the Sabaody Archipelago Marine Branch Base, with mediocre strength. As a rising star in the Marine, Sengoku of Buddha, whether it is the wisdom or strength he shows on weekdays, is obviously more suitable as a commander. Before Haki, Admiral led the fleet to Sabaody Archipelago. Command the Marine of Sabaody Archipelago to rescue celestial dragons. Yes, quick, surround Peninsula Number 1. It has been confirmed that the criminals should be hiding in the auction house. Never let them escape. Make sure to ensure the safety of celestial dragons. Not long. On the Sabaody Archipelago, a large number of Marines armed with live ammunition were aggressive. The residents and tourists were so frightened that they retreated in panic and dared not approach. Obviously, there were CP agents lurking on the island who reported the abnormal situation of the auction house and passed it on to the Marines. The Marines stationed on the Sabaody Archipelago took action as soon as they received the order from the naval headquarters. Rushed to Peninsula Number 1 as quickly as possible. Surrounded the auction house. Mirror world. At this time in the auction house, in the surprised eyes of Linlin, Nakin, Moss, the three-eyed girl Lillian, and others, Barry held a mirror. The mirror enlarged at a speed visible to the naked eye. A huge mirror world appeared in front of everyone. Climb in, stay there obediently, and don't move. As Nakin gave the order, the ability of the pet fruit was activated. These celestial dragons, wearing slave collars and bound by green collars made from pet fruits, were terrified and crawled into the mirror world along the huge mirror. You guys go in too. Hide inside first and watch those dragons. The next battle is not something you can get involved in now. Linlin stood up. She said directly to the three-eyed girl Vivian, the mermaid girl Ely, and other slaves who had just been rescued. Wait, the effect of the tranquilizer has worn off. I can help too. Vivian said loudly. She also wanted to do her part. As she said that, she stared at her three eyes, pointed outside, and said, "There are already a lot of auras surrounding us outside. A rough estimate is that there are at least more than 2,000 people, but they should not be stronger than me." As a natural observation Haki owner, Vivian can accurately sense the auras of all sizes on this island. Naturally, she was the first to notice that a large number of people were gathering towards the auction house. But there was only one person with a stronger aura than her. Of course, if it was the entire island, there were quite a few people with a stronger aura than her. Moreover, besides Linlin and the others, there seemed to be several more auras, which were incredibly strong. Mama. Observation Haki is not bad. Linlin raised her eyebrows. She patted Vivian's shoulder and said with a smile, "However, those are just the garrisons of Sabaody Archipelago, and the commander is just a mere Marine Rear Admiral. This is just an appetizer. The real battle is behind." Although in fact she is only 13 years old. But the other party can't be compared with a natural monster like herself. With the ability of the mythical bee species vampire form, plus the steel balloon-like invulnerable defense, it can be said that she has an immortal body. Even if the Admiral of Headquarters comes, she is not afraid. The other party may be able to suppress her, but can't kill her at all. Although when the bulimia attacks, being Ai easily suppressed. But that was not her true strength. In a state of losing her mind, she was completely relying on instinct and brute force to fight, and she did not play the advantage of the fruit ability at all, and even her swordsmanship was not brought into play. Although the other party did not want to hurt her from the beginning, she did not take it seriously. But if she was serious, she would not be so weak. We understand that you want to show your determination to that adult, but it is too early for you. Nakin folded her arms and said with a smile. Vivian wanted to say something, but in a blink of an eye, she was grabbed by Linlin's big hand and thrown directly into the mirror world sea. Mama, if you want to help, then remember your weakness when you were weak, and then work hard to practice. Your strength is not enough. Linlin waved her hand. I ignored the three-eyed girl who called out. Through simple communication, she had already understood the other party's situation. The owner of a natural observation Haki and a talent for swordsmanship is indeed a very good seedling. But at present, even armament Haki has not mastered it and can only barely send out flying slashes. If there is a strong person to teach, I believe that the future achievements will be more than this. Unfortunately, the other party's three-eyed tribe ability has not yet truly awakened. This mirror is handed over to you, Linlin, after the other slaves all entered the mirror world one after another. The mirror kept shrinking and was thrown to Linlin by Barry. At the same time, the other mirror was handed over to the Mazwanwai Lion Fur tribe. He also entered the mirror world. Be on standby at any time to meet them. Air door. And Wu Tan directly pressed it in the air. Very strange. In the air, the sun fan portal appeared. Inside, it was a green alien space, and the situation outside could be clearly seen. Mama, it would be great if this thing could lock others in. Linlin looked at the alien space and said with interest, Don't joke, the alien space can't last long. Wu Tan spread his hands and said helplessly, And the current limit of the alien space I could transfer by opening the door is only about 500 meters. Then we'll go first. Wu Tan and Moss walked into the alien space. Let's go, we should go out and warm up. Linlin stretched his muscles, showing off his curvy figure to the fullest. He gestured to Nakin and others, licked his lips, and said excitedly, Mama, I can't wait. Oz, you stay first, leave the naval headquarters to Wu Tan and others. At this time, Locke, who was investigating the situation outside, came over and said, I received the information secretly sent by Sally. There was a little accident. It may be a little troublesome later. Oz needs to help. Oh, it's not just Linlin. In a different space, Wu Tan, Moss, and others who were just about to close the door and leave were also a little surprised. The most dazzling new star in the new generation of Marine, Buddha Sengoku and Iron Fist Garb. They're also on vacation on this island. Burn a note to Ashes. Locke's face was serious, and he said in a deep voice, Maybe they will come to make trouble. Oh, yeah. Chapter 70. Marine Iron Triangle versus Roger Pirates? Rayleigh, has our ship been coated? How can it be so fast? If you hadn't dragged me to the auction house to join in the fun, it would have been almost finished. TSK, can't we just leave this kind of thing to those craftsmen? Why do you have to do it yourself? Nonsense. This is a matter of life and death. How can I feel at ease if I leave it to those guys? This is troublesome. Those guys are really messing around. Before we left, we did feel that a sound disappeared. Maybe celestial dragons have been killed. TSK. I heard that the Admiral of Headquarters would be alerted if celestial dragons were offended. If celestial dragons died here, those Marine guys would probably go crazy, right? Don't say so much for now. Let's return to New World later. It's the right thing to do to hurry to Sabaody Archipelago. Yes, I don't want to be involved for no reason. Those Marine guys are annoying enough. If we had a CPO, it will be fatal. Peninsula number 53. In an inconspicuous coating port, a pirate ship that has completed most of the coating work directly set sail at 047 and prepare to leave the island. The fluttering black pirate flag has a skull pattern with two curly mustaches on the left and right, which is very eye-catching. It is the pirate ship of Roger Pirates, and Roger and others who have already left Peninsula number 1 and returned here. Because they realize that celestial dragons have been attacked, this island is bound to set off a huge storm. They are urgently summoning all the crew members outside. Prepare to set sail. Roger, a tall figure, rampaging and running over aggressively. Stepping on the air, he ran out at an astonishing speed and rushed to the pirate ship that was about to set sail. I knew you were here. Don't try to run. Clang. A cold light flashed. The sound of metal clashing was deafening. Roger reacted quickly and rushed to the shore at the first time, drawing his sword to block. He collided with the opponent's fist wrapped with Haki, which was like steel. The collision between the two, it set off an astonishing wave of air, sweeping away. The sea surface was surging, and the sails of the pirate ship behind were fluttering, and they began to feel a little scared. "Hey, Garp." Roger's eyes were stern, looking directly at the black-haired young man in front of him, who was aggressive, had a scar on the corner of his left eye, and was sturdy. He smiled and said, "Can you please not come and make trouble at this time? Now is not the time to reminisce." Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Monkey D. Garp. "Why do I run into this guy wherever I go? He is really persistent. His nose is sharper than a dog's." The members of Roger's pirate group present, looking at the newcomer, they all looked serious, but at the same time, they were a little helpless. Obviously, this is not the first time they have dealt with him. This is a guy with amazing strength and very difficult to deal with. "Garp, if you want to stop us alone, I'm afraid you are not good enough." Rayleigh stood up with a smile. The sword in his hand has been unsheathed, pointing directly at Garp, who was confronting Roger. They are pirates. No matter how proud they are, they disdain to bully the minority with their numbers. But if they want to fight one-on-one, they have to decide when. If you keep procrastinating like this, the Marine Admiral will be here soon. "Hey, why are you running so fast?" At this time, two figures caught up with him. One was a beautiful woman with a ponytail, wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans. The other was a young man with a big hair, a strong physique, and a resolute face, who was about the same age as the young man who rushed out to block the departure of the Chuana pirates. The three of them joined the Marine at the same time and have become famous in recent years. The new generation of Naval Headquarters, the three most dazzling new stars, Sengoku, Garp, and Crane. Sengoku's pupils shrank sharply. He looked at Roger, Rayleigh, and others in shock. "Roger pirates? Are you guys really here?" Crane was also a little surprised and said with his hands on his waist, "I thought it was Garp who was crazy and running around." Sengoku of Buddha, Crane of Thousand Stratagems. "Two incredible guys are here." Rayleigh and Jabba's eyes narrowed. They both stood up and fought in front of Sengoku and Tsuru. "Hey, I can smell whether Roger is here or not." Monkey D. Garp bared his teeth. He clenched his fists and wrapped them around the dark Haki. He stared at Roger in front of him with burning eyes and was full of fighting spirit. "Roger, surrender obediently. I will never let you escape from me this time." "That won't work, bye." Roger smiled. There was no fear at all. Holding a Western knife, he said with bared teeth, "My dream is to complete a great journey around the world, but I can't stop here. That's impossible to do." Naval Headquarters Commodore Crane folded his arms and said in a deep voice, "You Roger pirates have already tried it, right? All the record pointers have completely failed when they reach the Ophel Island in the second half of the New World and can no longer guide to other islands? For hundreds of years, no one has been able to do it really around the world." Watching Silver Rayleigh in front of him warily, Sengoku said bluntly, "The final island is just a legend after all. It is to do what others can't do. Such a dream is challenging." Roger bared his teeth. He was not affected at all and laughed loudly. "But you Marines should have more important things to do right now, instead of stopping us here, right? Your master Celestial Dragons was attacked. As Marines, are you indifferent?" Copper Jabba, the third in command of Roger's pirate group, also sneered. Zero Garp, Sengoku Crane. As the vice captain, Silver Rayleigh looked at Garp, Sengoku, and Crane and smiled and said, "Instead of trying to stop us from sailing, why not find a way to save Celestial Dragons? Otherwise, your Marshal Williams report will be difficult to write next. What does the attack on those disgusting guys have to do with me?" Garp curled his lips. He held his head high and said confidently, "I'm on vacation. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. If it wants to be warm and cold can go. Besides, I'm not arresting you, Roger pirates." He had no good feelings towards those garbage on the sea. Having seen those arrogant and domineering world nobles and their countless evil deeds, his passion was once extinguished. If it weren't for fighting pirates and practicing the justice in his heart, he wanted to resign directly. He came to pull Garp back and was ready to see the situation. Although this guy who didn't want to make progress and had a dull head didn't want to make progress, But he had the ambition to become a Marine Marshal from the beginning and wanted to make progress. No matter how unhappy Celestial Dragons was. But he was determined to change the current situation of Marine and defend the Order of the Sea. In order to be promoted to a high position as soon as possible, have more power, and realize his ideals and ambitions as soon as possible. The surface work still needs to be done well. This is also a compromise. Bobo. She subconsciously took it out and answered the call. Moses, this is Tsuru. Tsuru Commodore. You should be with Sengoku Rear Admiral and Garp Rear Admiral, right? Yes, we found the whereabouts of the Roger pirates and are hunting them down. Tsuru responded directly after glancing at the Roger pirates in front of him. Sengoku's eyelids jumped, and he had a guess in his mind. Garp couldn't help but frown. There was a bad feeling. You should have received the news, right? Because Celestial Dragons were suddenly attacked. Marshal William ordered that your vacation be canceled, and you must go to Peninsula Number 1 immediately to rescue Celestial Dragons at all costs. You must not let the criminals escape. The voice of the ensign adjutant came out of the den mushy, conveying the order simply and directly. Before Hack Admiral leads the fleet to arrive, all the Marines in Sabeti Archipelago are temporarily under the command of Sengoku Rear Admiral. As for the Roger pirates, don't worry about those guys for now. Everything should be prioritized to rescue Celestial Dragons. Above. Click. Dia. Hearing this, everyone in the Roger pirates laughed together, looking at Garp, Sengoku, and others triumphantly. Aren't you going to hunt us? You dare to disobey orders. Keep catching us. Garp, Sengoku. Chapter 71. Easily crush. Soul clone. Don't let these criminals escape attention. Make sure the Celestial Dragons are safe. Peninsula Number 1. Outside the auction house. A large number of armed Marine personnel have surrounded the 3 layers inside and outside. Max Rear Admiral, the commander of the Marine base of Sabeti Archipelago, found that there were no Celestial Dragons inside after Linlin, Locke, Nakin, and others came out. Damn thugs. Do you know what kind of felony it is to offend the descendants of the Creator? The Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral's eyes were blazing. There he glared at Linlin, the leader, full of resentment, and shouted loudly, "Several Celestial Dragons, what have you done to them?" He never thought that he was sitting in the office drinking tea. As a result, a disaster came. Not only was the Celestial Dragons attacked, but it was suspected that a noble person was killed. For Max Rear Admiral, it was like the sky fell. The Celestial Dragons, in such a big thing, happened right under the eyes of Marine. He, the Marine base commander stationed in Sabeti Archipelago, obviously could not escape the blame. In all likelihood, he would be pushed out as a scapegoat. Now, he just wanted to make up for his mistakes and rescue as many Celestial Dragons as possible in exchange for the lightest punishment. At least, his family should not be easily implicated. If you want to know the situation of Celestial Dragons, go in and look for them. Linlin raised the corners of her mouth and said sneerly, "Maybe I will kill them all on a whim." She was tall, wearing a horn hat, tight jeans, and a floral shirt, which completely set off her proud figure. She was completely different from her chubby appearance in the past. A whole 30 damn guy, too arrogant. Fire. Hearing this, Max Rear Admiral and others on the opposite side Marines gnashed their teeth and were furious. They glared at the girl in front of them who looked too young and was much larger than an ordinary human, who was suspected to be a giant. If those Celestial Dragons met with an accident again and could not be rescued, the unlucky ones would be the Marines stationed in Sabeti Archipelago. For a moment, they all raised their guns and rocket launchers, aiming at these daring villains. Without hesitation, they pulled the trigger. They fired directly. Song! The bright knife flashed. The large saber with a large arc hanging on her waist was pulled out from her waist. Looking at the cold light, it was extremely sharp. It was the weapon forged by Ai Erbafu. In terms of quality alone, it is definitely among the 21 large swords, and it ranks among the best. It's going to be a big battle anyway. Kill some Marines and get some blood reserves. Gerd won't blame me, right? Linlin grinned and said, holding the big saber Napoleon. The tall figure took a few steps. Countless bullets shot at her, but she didn't dodge or evade, letting the bullets continue to attack her body. Although she couldn't hurt herself at all, she didn't want to be covered in dust, so she just chopped them open without hesitation. Thick smoke billowed. Linlin, don't get too excited. Oz, don't do anything yet. Leave these guys to us. These guys just keep a breath, right? Nakin, Locke, Jane, and the others. They easily dodged the incoming bullets and said with a chuckle. Then they took action directly. That won't work. You're too slow. He turned his head to dodge an incoming rocket. Linlin decisively rejected them. Over the years, she followed Ai Air to the comm belt and hibernated for so long. Even if she hunted pirates from time to time, she was very low-key. Now she finally wants to use the world stage of Sabeti Archipelago to officially announce the brilliant appearance of their fallen angel pirates to this sea. Her warlike genes can no longer be restrained. Finger pistol. Naakin's figure is swift. In an instant, she appeared dozens of meters away and rushed to the marine camp. Slender fingers. Like a bullet, they pierced through those who had no time to react. Marine's chest. Ah! They screamed and fell there. Ada, Sadowuskik. Locke of the long-legged tribe ran out. He was 4 or 5 meters tall, and his legs occupied most of his body. His long legs turned into afterimages, kicking out continuously. Bang! The shadows of the legs were heavy, like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. Marines had no time to fire at all, or just when they were about to rush up with their weapons, they were hit hard and flew out like shells one after another. Fishman Karate Water Strike. A pool of water appeared in the palm of his hand. The right wrist of the Fishman Jane was swung out like lightning. The next moment, these water droplets suddenly tore through the atmosphere and turned into swift and sharp water arrows. They penetrated the bodies of those Marines one after another. A large number of Marine fell down screaming. How is it possible? What kind of monster is this? The bullets were all bounced off. Damn, is this guy invulnerable? It's just like a steel balloon. Is it some weird ability user? The Marines widened their eyes. They looked at the little giant girl in front of them with some disbelief. They never thought that, in addition to dodging or splitting those rockets and shells, facing their intensive shooting, the opponent did not dodge or evade at all. In the end, they were still safe and sound. Unscathed. Everyone follow me. Max Rear Admiral saw this. His eyes turned into determination and madness. He rushed forward without hesitation. These guys have offended celestial dragons, committed heinous crimes, and are unforgivable criminals. No matter if they live or die, because if only celestial dragons were offended, if the Marine executives were willing to protect him, he might be demoted at most. But if celestial dragons were killed, he, the base commander of Sabeti Archipelago, would definitely be held accountable by the higher-ups. Maybe dying heroically in battle is at least better than living. At the very least, his family should not be implicated. Go to hell. Max Rear Admiral stomped his feet. His figure was like lightning, and he rushed to Linlin in an instant. The samurai sword in his hand was wrapped around Haki. He chopped it fiercely. Boo. However, in an instant, his eyes blurred. A big hand, incredibly fast, instantly grabbed his whole body. Max Rear Admiral. This scene made countless Marines change their faces. They never thought that this Max Rear Admiral would be caught directly. KGK. Crack, crack. Max Rear Admiral was tightly grasped, and he felt as if all his bones were broken. His eyes bulged, his face flushed, and he looked at Linlin in front of him with horror. The size of the little giant was no different, and he could easily grasp him. His face was distorted, and he screamed in pain. Most of the blood in his body was directly taken away by the ruthless. His body aged and shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was creepy. Master Linlin, don't be so excited. At this time, in the sky, a thundercloud flew down. It was Thundercloud Hera, and it showed an anthropomorphic face. But the voice that came out was different from the usual Hera, and his eyes were in a strange ripple shape. Don't take the life of these guys, otherwise their souls will also weaken. The souls extracted by the soul fruit ability are in units of life. If Linlin directly relies on the ability of the mythical beast species, vampire form, to plunder most of the life of those targets, making them old and aging, then the souls harvested by the soul fruit ability will naturally only have a small part of their life. The loss here is too great. Mama, I almost forgot about you. Glancing at the different Layun Hera from usual, Linlin directly returned the life that had just been plundered to Mac's rear admiral, who was still breathing, and restored his aging appearance to youth. But because most of the blood was drained, the body was still dry, and the flesh was sunken like a corpse, which was terrible. Throwing it to Layun Hera, tilting his head and chuckling, "Then leave it to you." Before they set off, Gerd has used his soul to create a special soul clone that is different from Hamet's. It can live in the body of Thundercloud Hera for a short period of time and inherit some of the abilities of the original body. It can use the power of Thundercloud Hera to make others feel fear, even make them lose consciousness and have no power to resist. Extract the soul of the target. DZXDZ. In an instant, lightning flashed and intertwined. Thundercloud Hera, controlled by Gerd's soul clone, directly transformed into a combat form with a devil-like face. A big hand with a strange glow stretched out from Thundercloud Hera. It went straight through the body of Mac's rear admiral, extracted his soul. Scream. The body that lost its breath of life fell to the ground. Hissing and chirping, lightning flashed one after another that could be seen by the naked eye. Thundercloud Hera, who looked like a demon, showed an evil smile. He rushed directly to the Marines who were watching this scene and were extremely terrified. "Then, I'm going to start. Mac's rear admiral. What is this? Damn guy. Revenge for rear admiral." Looking at the miserable body of Mac's rear admiral, Marines were shocked and angry, and they opened fire at Linlin or Thundercloud Hera. Some even rushed up with weapons in hand, murderous. "Go to hell. What's going on?" "The attack is ineffective." "Damn it, help me." The bullet went through. However, immediately afterwards, they all couldn't help but widen their eyes, and some chills ran down their spines. It wasn't just the mysterious girl who was tall and had already shown a strong defense that was as invulnerable as a sword. Both the bullet and the sword strangely penetrated the body of the thundercloud and couldn't hurt it at all. Even the detonation of the shells couldn't hurt the other party, and it was still coming. Life or death. The next moment, the ripple-shaped pupils of Thundercloud Hera shone. Buzz. An invisible soul deterrence was released. What's going on? The body can't move. Within a range of more than 10 meters, these Marines' body suddenly stiffened. Soul matter visible to the naked eye diffused from their heads. The feeling that their souls were about to leave made their hair stand on end, and they were extremely terrified. A huge, weird soul hand passed over their heads. Soul harvest. Gaga. FO Chapter 72. The collision of the strong. The impact of Buddha. What kind of monster is this? Damn it, it's immune to death. Haven't the reinforcements from Naval Headquarters arrived yet? No, we can't fight these guys at all. Everyone hold on. We must not let these extremely evil thugs escape. Bye. Hiss and squeak. The smoke was everywhere. On the chaotic Peninsula No. 1, gunfire and screams continued. Looking at Linlin, Locke, Nakin, and others who were killing people everywhere, and seeing that under the strange impact of that demonic thundercloud, their own personnel kept falling down. In a blink of an eye, nearly half of the troops had been eliminated. The Marines present were all filled with fear. They retreated subconsciously. There's a strong breath approaching. Linlin carried Napoleon and looked towards the forest, grinning. Finally, some guys with some strength have come. Her observation Haki, who had been trained day and night for many years, was already quite strong. It was easy to feel that there were 3 quite strong breaths approaching at an alarming speed. Moreover, the 2 strongest ones were the leading ones, and the third breath, which was slightly behind, was still stronger than the previous Mac's rear admiral, but it was still much weaker. Mama, let's clear the field first." Linlin was full of amusement. Looking at the Marines who were already a little frightened, retreating step by step, and dared not rush up again. She laughed strangely. Puff, Lingling. In an instant, her whole body exploded. She turned into thousands of bats, rushing out at an alarming speed, like lightning, rushing towards those marine bats. What kind of ability is this? Don't worry about it. Fire, shoot them. Bye. Faced with a large number of vampire bats rushing towards them, some people directly shot, while others wielded swords and chopped. However, a terrifying scene happened to these marines. The bullets shot at them. They were directly squeezed and deformed, and were bounced out one after another, unable to penetrate their skin. The swords chopped at them, and they were directly broken, and even directly broken, and their speed was unmatched. What? Damn, these guys. Are they all immortal? Damn ghost things, they're actually harder than steel. Just like that woman, they are completely unkillable. Run, for a moment. These marines couldn't help but shiver. But looking at the sharp teeth of those bats, they couldn't help but feel a little creepy. Subconsciously, they turned around and ran. Pop! It was like a stream of black light, carrying an exaggerated force, rushing over. Some people were directly disemboweled by the extremely sharp wings. Some were knocked away, with blood on their heads, and some were directly pounced on by them, with their hideous teeth biting them directly. In the blink of an eye, the whole battlefield was filled with screams. A large number of Marines were directly pounced on by vampire bats, and their blood was constantly sucked. The Marines, who were originally strong and sturdy, became open at a speed visible to the naked eye. They turned pale and lost consciousness. They fainted there. Mama. Next, it's up to you. A large number of bats gathered. Linlin's tall figure, carrying the big saber Napoleon, gestured to Lei Yunli. In order to facilitate Gerd's soul clone to plunder their souls, the vampire bats she had previously controlled did not completely suck the blood of these Marines, leaving them half a mouthful of Eve. But they had already lost the power to resist. Lightning flashed. Thunder Cloud Hera, who looked like a demon, rushed out directly. Okay, then I won't be polite. Two soul hands visible to the naked, I stretched out from the black thundercloud and penetrated the bodies of those Marines. Their souls were taken away. The scene was terrifying. TSK, what a terrible ability. Every time I see you and Gerd use your fruit ability, I feel my scalp tingling. Looking at the horrible scene, Locke, Nakin, and the Fishman Jane all spoke. And the little Oz, whose body was reduced to less than 1 centimeter and could be ignored, sat on Jane's head. Are they the two most dazzling new stars of Marine? Linlin looked up suddenly, looking at the direction of the forest with burning eyes. With a high fighting spirit, she suddenly swung Napoleon and smiled grimly. Then let me verify whether there is any water. Ai Erbafu spear. She was full of awe, completely different from the previous game-like posture. Observation Haki locked onto the vaguely visible figure in the forest. What is that? Looking at the Marine bodies lying there. After receiving the order from Naval Headquarters, he and Tsuru dragged the reluctant Garp to Peninsula No. 1. Sengoku, who rushed out first, couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Then, he noticed the huge figure swinging the blade and staring at him fiercely. The strong sense of crisis made his hair stand on end. He activated the fruit ability without hesitation. OM, de Zhao's. The golden light was dazzling, and the Sanskrit sound was bursting. A huge golden figure appeared there. Mama, Buddha, a person with ability? In an instant, Linlin's eyes lit up, and he was extremely excited. The blade swung diagonally and suddenly slashed out. Weigua! Swish! The atmosphere was directly crushed and torn apart. A cylindrical sword energy shock wave with an exaggerated diameter and unparalleled horror blasted out. It crushed directly towards the golden Buddha Yun, who changed color in horror. Buddha's shocked. In a flash of lightning, a huge Buddha stood there. The golden Buddha's palm, condensed with a dazzling halo, attacked fiercely. It directly released a powerful shockwave and collided fiercely with the cylindrical sword energy that penetrated. Boom! Chapter 73. Sengoku is furious, Mythical beasts versus mythical beasts. Woo. The loud noise shook the sky. The dazzling light and radiance were too dazzling to look directly at. A series of violent air waves rolled and rippled. The golden Buddha was solemn and full of solemnity and dignity. It looked down at the tall figure in front of it that looked unbelievably young but had amazing momentum. It actually blocked Linlin's mighty country. TSK, TSK, the human fruit, mythical beast, Buddha form, Locke, Nakin, Little Oz, Fishman Jane, and others. Looking at the golden Buddha, they were all a little surprised. Although Linlin has not used the fruit ability yet and is still in human form. But so far, except for Ai Air, it is the first time they have seen someone who can directly block the Ai Erbafu gun swung by Charlotte Linlin, a natural monster. It is worthy of being one of the brightest new stars of the new generation of Marine. It is really unbelievably strong. Mama, interesting. Linlin's eyes were burning, full of passion. Staring at Sengoku, who had transformed into a giant Buddha, he felt a strong desire to fight. Damn it, looking around the messy battlefield, looking at the Marine 003 corpses lying in all directions, and their horrified looks at their deaths. Sengoku, who was as tall as a giant, couldn't help but shrink his eyes, clenched his fists, and was extremely angry. Gnashing his teeth, he glared at the thugs in front of him who he had never seen before and who came out of nowhere. You bastards! Most of these ignorant guys were killed by me. Linlin bared his teeth. The big saber pointed directly at Sengoku, full of provocation. Smiling and speaking, "What? Do you want to avenge them?" Searched the battlefield, but he didn't find the whereabouts of celestial dragons. Sengoku was a little doubtful, subconsciously frowned, and looked at the tightly sealed auction house behind him. Finally, looking down at Linlin, who was only 7 meters tall and could only be considered a small giant, he spoke in a deep voice. "Who are you? What is your purpose in attacking celestial dragons?" "My name is Charlotte Linlin. You must remember this, Marine." Linlin looked directly at Sengoku, full of amusement. "As for the purpose, it may be a long-planned plan, or it may be a spur of the moment. Who knows?" Sengoku's face turned black and his eyes were extinguished. He glanced at Linlin, Locke, Fishman Jane, and others and said coldly, "No matter what your purpose is, you have committed an unforgivable crime by attacking the world nobles, and your future ends here. Today, I am here, and none of you can leave easily. If you can stop it, try it." Linlin narrowed her eyes and said with a smile. Two figures were staring at each other with swords drawn. Swish! The next moment, almost at the same time, instantly, both rushed out. The sharp blade wrapped around Haki. It collided fiercely with the golden fist. Clang! Sparks flew. The sound of metal clashing was deafening. The amazing energy raged. Two fierce conquerors' Hakis confronted each other fiercely. Visible black and red lightnings intertwined and flashed violently there, spreading continuously. The strong wind swept, carrying countless rocks and plants, and rushed in all directions. It was hard to open one's eyes. Conqueror's collision. Does that guy also have that rare qualification? The lackeys of the world government actually have such a thing. Locke, Nakin, Jane, and others present all had to retreat violently because of the strong wind pressure. After stabilizing their bodies, they looked at the figure who was colliding with Linlin, and they were all shocked. Obviously, they didn't expect that the other party also had the qualifications of a king that not even one person among millions of people had. Conqueror's Haki. Hey, are you kidding me? Is that weird woman the same as Sengoku? But what was more shocked than them was the Buddha, Sengoku himself, and Garp and Crane, who just rushed out of the forest. They stared at Linlin. They couldn't believe it. Mama, you are really a good opponent." Holding the saber wrapped with Haki, he clashed with the golden Buddha palm that looked like it was cast in gold. Linlin looked at Sengoku with a fiery look and a high fighting spirit, baring her teeth and saying, "By the way, that fat pig celestial dragon's called Hanaik. I was in a whim and trampled it to death. You, a lackey of the world government, do you want to avenge your master?" "What?" Sengoku's face changed immediately. Even he and Garp couldn't help but shrink their eyes. I never thought that the other party would be so cruel and arrogant. I didn't take celestial dragons seriously at all. You guy. Sengoku's eyes were murderous. The Buddha's palm suddenly emitted a dazzling halo. But before his shock wave could explode, Linlin had already pressed down her feet and retreated like lightning. Mama, are you angry? Swish. The next moment, she changed at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into a hideous human beast form. The ferocious fangs were exposed, the limbs turned into claws, the body was covered with thick purple-black fur, and a pair of terrifying flesh wings emerged from the back. Zoan ability user? This scene made Sengoku, Garp, and Crane's pupils shrink. Unexpectedly, the other party was actually a Zoan ability user, and that extremely dangerous, chilling aura. I'm afraid it's not just an ordinary Zoan. Mama, you are not the only one who has the special devil fruit ability. In the human beast mode, Linlin, who was like a humanoid demon, was full of ferocity and bloodthirstiness. Holding Napoleon, he was intimidating and grinning there. The blade was raised and chopped out. Then, let's have a hearty fight next. Swish! The sound of breaking through the air was whistling. A huge crescent-shaped slash, tearing the atmosphere, swift as lightning and violently attacking. It made people change color. Buddha's impact. The golden Buddha's palm condensed with a halo. A violent shock wave rushed out directly. It collided with the huge slash that was flying in. Boom! Woo! The loud noise shook the sky. A series of powerful hurricanes swept in. The exaggerated crescent-shaped slash was directly shattered and blocked. Sengoku's resolute voice echoed on the battlefield. Garp, don't let these guys run away. Shawa, go to the auction house to check. Celestial dragons cannot be lost. In a short time, arrange the division of labor for his two comrades. The golden Buddha didn't look back and rushed up with murderous intent. Directly fought with Linlin, who was waving a blade and killing him relentlessly. Chapter 74. The terrifying Linlin, a human Buddha type? L. The earth rumbled and roared. Linlin, in the form of a human beast, had a hideous and terrifying face. Holding the extremely sharp and cold Napoleon, the blade kept swinging. Each move was powerful and murderous. He kept slashing at Sengoku. Over the years, he has been taught by the powerful swordsman, Long Bao Mao, and Ai Er, who has already surpassed the former and become a real great swordsman. Although Linlin is still very young, but he is not just brute force. His swordsmanship is extremely exquisite, and his sword moves are swift and domineering, and extremely sharp. Sengoku, who was the first to bear the brunt, and Garp, Crane, and others who were watching the battle, were all a little frightened. Clang, clang. The sound of metal clashing was endless. The golden giant fist and the golden Buddha's palm were like gold casting. Wrapped around armament Haki, with a dark golden luster, kept colliding with the fierce and swift blade. The golden body of the Buddha not only has an invulnerable defense, and the power it shows is indeed amazing. As a natural monster, Linlin has always been extremely powerful. Even the ancient giant Little Oz, who showed his unattainable complete form, would be easily overturned by her. But she was not able to crush Sengoku, who turned into a Buddha with her most proud power. The fight between the two was fierce. However, Linlin in the human beast form was as fast as a ghost. She showed an amazing speed, which caught Sengoku, the Buddha, a little off guard. Boo! The golden Buddha's palm overwhelmed the atmosphere and just blasted over. But it did not encounter any obstacles as expected. The tall figure was ruthlessly blasted through. What? Afterimage, Sengoku changed color in horror. The person who was blasted through by him was not Charlotte at all. Linlin himself was just the afterimage left by the opponent's super-fast movement. In particular, the feedback from his own observation Haki made his hair stand on end. The huge golden figure subconsciously wanted to return to defense. But it was too late. Shadow clone. In an instant, Linlin's ferocious and terrifying tall figure appeared behind the Buddha like a ghost. You are careless. The slanted blade was already ready to go. He didn't give the opponent any chance to react at all. He chopped it out mercilessly. Waigwa, accompanied by a violent sound of breaking through the air. The terrifying sword energy shock wave directly crushed the atmosphere. With the speed of thunder and lightning. Blast and kill. What? Sengoku was caught off guard by the inability to react. His pupils dilated and his face changed in horror. Sengoku, witnessing this scene, the crane was completely surprised and horrified. Swish! But at this moment, a young figure with amazing momentum appeared behind the golden Buddha like lightning. The huge black iron fist, flowing with strong armed color, suddenly rushed out. Fistbone conflict. A loud bang. The white light was dazzling, and 3 waves rolled. The exaggerated air waves kept sweeping in all directions. Garp. The golden Buddha, who barely returned to defense, was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. But at the same time, he couldn't help but feel surprised and happy, and breathed a sigh of relief. At the critical moment, it turned out that the brothers were reliable. It was worthy of being a man who could let him trust his back to the other party. However, at the same time, oh, don't disturb Linlin's battle. A green figure rushed over with a roar. Bang! A fierce fist mark, wrapped with strong armed color. It hit Garp's cheek hard, who was caught off guard and had no time to retract his strength. His face was distorted and he vomited blood. It flew out like a cannonball. The loud noises continued. One after another, the big trees were directly broken in half. Finally, he crashed directly into the huge tree trunk marked with 1 embedded on it. Garp. Sengoku and Crane's faces changed drastically, looking at the figure who suddenly appeared on the battlefield. The whole body was green, with a pair of horns about 2 or 3 meters tall and a fierce and violent figure. Mama, well done, Oz. Linlin, with a startling face, said to little Oz with great approval. She licked her lips, glanced at the direction where Garp was blown away, and said grimly, "It is the most rude behavior to intervene in other people's battles without saying hello. If this guy hadn't suddenly attacked just now, I believe that Sengoku of Buddha would have been hit hard by her powerful attack. This is the advantage of the mythical beast vampire form. It gave Charlotte Linlin ghostly speed and extraordinary nerve reaction. It completely made up for her shortcomings as a natural monster who was too big and not agile compared to those top strongmen. After all, she has monster-like strength and a strong body that is invulnerable to swords and guns. In addition, Ai Er's strict teaching and devilish training that far exceeds that of ordinary people have continuously fully tapped her potential as a natural monster. Even though she is still a minor, she is much younger than Sengoku, who has just turned 24 and is in his youth. But the strength she showed is enough to make people tremble. Previously, Ai Er can easily suppress her bulimia. That's just because she's like a beast fighting on instinct. At this moment, she is in a rational state. How much more powerful is her fighting ability? War is not a game. We are Marines. You are pirates. Sengoku, who turned into a Buddha, said coldly, "This is a battlefield, not a ring. 0 seeking flowers, 0. What's more, there is no need to talk about morality with you pirates who are cruel, treacherous, and cunning." He looked at the terrifying Linlin with fear in his eyes. Unexpectedly, the opponent had such a terrifying speed that even his Buddha body could not react. If it wasn't for Garp made a timely move, he was too careless and might have been seriously injured. Although the defense of the Buddha's golden body is strong, ordinary guns, cannons, swords cannot easily hurt him. But he is not really invincible. The swift and terrifying attack of Waigwa. It can directly tear apart the defense of his Buddha's golden body. You are right. This is not playing house, and there is really no need to talk about morality with you Marines. Holding Napoleon, Linlin nodded. Glancing at the crane beside Sengoku, he grinned. "Naki and Lock, Jane, you catch that woman." "Understood. Leave it to us." Hearing Linlin's order, Nake and Lock, and Jane sneered and stepped forward, staring at Crane with a covetous look. Although they usually call Linlin casually and get along with him like friends. When the fallen angel pirates, As a natural monster with strong strength, Linlin is one of the highest cadres. His status is even higher than theirs. Don't even think about succeeding. Sengoku's face changed. He was so angry that he rushed out directly. Human beast form. The next moment, he clenched his fists and shouted. The golden light was dazzling, and the huge Buddha was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a golden body about 5 meters high, and compared with the previous Buddha form, it looked extremely strong. Human beast form? Or human Buddha form? Linlin raised her eyebrows, but was not particularly surprised, because whether Zoan is ordinary, ancient, or fantasy, it generally has 3 stages of transformation. The other party just became so huge and transformed into an exaggerated golden Buddha, which is obviously a complete beast form. According to Ai Erbafu, it seems that special drugs can also be used to interfere with and change the transformation wavelength of Zoan ability users, so as to obtain more stages of transformation forms. At present, Nakin, who is the ship's doctor, and Gert are responsible for research in this area. However, this research has just started not long ago, and there is not much effect yet. Want to catch me? Then come on. He held his head high, full of confidence. I am not a small character who could be slaughtered at will. She raised her hands and looked at Nai, Locke, and others with vigilance. As one of the rising stars of the new generation of Marine, although she is not as good as Sengoku and Garp, 2 inhuman monsters, but she is still very confident in her own strength. There is no fear. There is no intention to retreat. Chapter 75, Low Profile Steel Balloon? Little Oz versus Garp. Damn. At this time, Garp was covered in dirt. His cheeks were bruised and blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth. He climbed up from the ruins of the forest with his head shaking. The embarrassed figure ran out and returned to the battlefield again. Garp. Seeing that Garp was fine, Tsuru couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Sorry, I was a little careless just now. Sengoku, who was in the human beast form, asked there, Garp, are you okay? I'm fine. Garp shook his head and spat out a mouthful of blood foam. Holding a fist wrapped in Haki, he stared at the little Oz who looked like a human beast. This guy has such exaggerated power. It's Sengoku, Rear Admiral, and the others. The famous Iron Fist Garp is also here, and the Crane Commodore, who is known as the Flower of Marine, is also here. Great! It's the famous Iron Triangle combination of Marine. Everyone, go ahead. Don't let those criminals get away. At this time, hundreds of Marines who were previously left behind to block other exits from Peninsula No. 1 and who had escaped by chance, as well as a few CP agents in suits and leather shoes with guns and live ammunition, gathered and rushed over. Seeing Sengoku, Garp, and others confronting the criminals who attacked celestial dragons. All of them are not allowed to be soldiers. 7 was in high spirits. Sengoku, Rear Admiral. Have you found the whereabouts of Hawk's Saint and the others? A CP-7 captain hurried forward to Sengoku asked. The higher-ups had issued a death order, requiring them to rescue the kidnapped celestial dragons. When we arrived, these guys had already killed these Marines. You should check the situation at the auction house immediately. Sengoku shook his head, pointing to the auction house not far away. He said to the other party in a deep voice, Quick, search for the whereabouts of several world nobles immediately. The CP-7 officer did not hesitate and immediately gave the order. He led people to the auction house. Ogak and Linlin and others saw this. There was no intention to stop it. His face was calm and revealed sarcasm. You are responsible for commanding these Marines to deal with those guys. Sengoku's eyes sank. He had a bad premonition. Without hesitation, he rushed to Linlin. Garp, let's go. Shave. Before he finished speaking, he stomped his feet hard and turned into a golden afterimage. Under the human beast type Sengoku, his speed was much faster than before. Buddha's impact. The golden Buddha's palm condensed a dazzling halo. Carrying a terrible shock wave, it suppressed Linlin fiercely. Mama, the speed is much faster, Linlin said with a smile. She carried flesh wings on her back, like a demon with amazing momentum. The blade in her hand, wrapped around Haki, swung out. But it's still not good enough. Waigwa! In an instant, a fierce sword energy slash wave. It crushed the atmosphere and swept out like a rotten wood. It directly collided with the shock wave that came violently. The loud noise continued, and the airwaves rolled. Two rare fantasy beasts. Both maintained a more suitable human beast form for combat. The cold and shining big saber collided with the golden Buddha's palm and the golden fist, making a series of teeth-grinding metal and iron collision sounds. Visible sparks burst out one after another. Linlin and Sengoku fought directly together. It was like a head-on confrontation. It was extremely fierce. However, even if it was Sengoku in the human beast form, although his body became extremely flexible, the defense and amplification of the golden body were not as good as the complete Buddha form. Facing Linlin, who not only had powerful swordsmanship under Ai Er's training, but also had the bonus of the ability of the mythical beast vampire form, whether it was strength, speed, nerve reaction, etc., it was quite amazing, and all aspects were overwhelming. He was not able to gain the upper hand at all. Instead, he seemed to be struggling every time he dealt with Linlin's ghostly, swift, and violent attacks. Not to mention the dangers, but he was clearly at a disadvantage. However, although this Marine star who was originally sought after and had high spirits was repeatedly suppressed by the overly young Linlin, he was inevitably a little hit and full of frustration. He was even more shocked by the opponent's ridiculous strength. But for Sengoku, he was not too worried, because as long as they could hold back Charlotte Linlin and her gang, when the Admiral of Headquarters led the fleet to arrive, these guys would have no way to escape. "Hey, you beat me up just now." Garp rushed towards Little Oz. His fists were shiny black, wrapped with armament Haki. He blasted Little Oz. Fistbone meteorite. Beast's strict secret. Little Oz was not afraid at all. He maintained a height of 2 or 3 meters. The huge green fists also wrapped around Haki. The two fists kept hitting out like bullets, fighting against Garp. Diligence can make up for lack of talent. He was not smart enough and was a little stupid. After long-term, strict training day after day, he finally mastered the 6 styles. Under Ai Er's patient guidance, he developed the most suitable physical skills for himself, an ancient giant. The beast strict secret completely integrated the finger pistol and the 6 styles with the fists, no longer hitting the target with fingers, but relying on powerful strength, using fists like bullets or even artillery shells to kill the target. They all mastered the 6 styles, but whether it was the so-called supermen of CP9 or the more powerful CPO senior agents, compared with Little Oz, an ancient giant with the ability of the mini fruit, the power they exerted was completely different, or it can be said that it was the difference between bullets and rockets. In a blink of an eye, collisions continued. The fist prints in the sky continuously hit each other. The punches hit the flesh, making people dizzy and unable to see clearly. Woo! Smoke and dust rolled. The amazing energy kept raging. Because of the fierce confrontation between the two, the ground collapsed and cracked. Although his own armament Haki was indeed inferior to the opponent, with his powerful strength, Zayas actually blocked the attack of Iron Fist Garp. In the final analysis, the current Monkey D Garp, compared to the peak period in the future, he is far from growing up. Perhaps because it is the golden period of strength explosion, he may grow at an astonishing speed in the future, far surpassing Little Oz and leaving him behind. But for now, as an ancient giant, Little Oz also has the innate advantage brought by the Mini Fruit .0. Obviously, he has not been completely surpassed. Even if Garp has the upper hand, he cannot directly crush Little Oz. Seeing this, Suru was a little shocked. Unexpectedly, the opponent could actually fight against Garp's proud Iron Fist. She knew very well how Garp trained on weekdays, and the degree of madness was jaw-dropping. Unexpectedly, the Iron Fist that had defeated many famous New World pirates in succession and was famous in the sea actually met an opponent. But how could this marine flower know? Thanks to the strong physique of the ancient giants and the ability of the Paramecia mini fruit, he was reduced in size and had a strong physique. It can be said that he was extremely powerful and invulnerable. It was like a low-profile steel balloon. Therefore, Ai Er's training plan for Little Oz was also far beyond ordinary people. As early as several years ago, he had been specially arranged on a deserted island so that he could use the mountain as a sandbag for training every day. In addition, Little Oz's straightforward and honest character always trusted Ai Er very much and listened to her. After witnessing with his own eyes that Ai Er was not just talking, but also practicing hard day and night, with a much more exaggerated amount of training than himself, he was shocked. No matter how hard and tiring the training was, he would never cheat or compromise, and gritted his teeth and persisted, just to help Ai Er in the future realize that lofty dream and contribute his own strength. In terms of the amount of training on weekdays, it can be said that even Linlin is not as good as Little Oz, second only to Ai Er himself. So, in the past 8 years, even if his innate talent is relatively dull, but with the guidance of Ai Er, a master with a broad vision, Little Oz can be said to have made rapid progress. His strength has made a qualitative leap. For now, relying on the racial advantage of the ancient giants, he is not inferior to the current Iron Fist Garp. You don't have time to care about others. Nakin rushed up with a strange smile. With a flick of his right hand, 1.7 green halos flew out like lightning and rushed towards he. Shave. He reacted quickly. He retreated immediately, but Nakin was relentless and threw a large number of green halos continuously. He was agile and strong and dodged them flexibly. However, the Marines behind her were not so lucky. They were directly put on the collar around their necks, arms, ankles. They couldn't get rid of them at all. What is this? Damn it, I can't get rid of it. Shoot, kill them. Don't let them escape. A large number of Marines and CP agents. They raised their guns and fired at Nakin, Locke, Jane, and others. Moreover, some people rushed up with swords and murderous intent. We are not easy to deal with. Locke and Jane also took action. They killed those Marines. Tempest kick, Fishman karate, shotgun. Chapter 76, The Bug Fruit, Flea Form. Sengoku is severely injured brought. Swish, swish on the chaotic battlefield. A large number of bullets, scattered shells, and rockets. They were fired at the long-legged tribe Locke and the Fishman Jane. They exploded one after another. The thick smoke was billowing. Tempest kicked Zhou Duan without any warning. A huge slash in a ring shape. It tore the atmosphere apart and cut out violently there. Marine and CP agent screamed. They were cut in half directly. The towering trees were cut ruthlessly directly. The cut was smooth and shocking. That guy, Crane, who was fighting with Nakin, couldn't help but shrink his pupils. The thick smoke dissipated. A flea-like humanoid monster with a hideous face rushed out from inside. Is this a flea? Crane was shocked. She didn't expect that the guy from the long-legged tribe was also a person with special abilities. Not only did he master the Grandmaster 6 styles, but he could also kick out such an exaggerated slash. TSK, your eyes are really sharp. You can even identify the human beast form. He threw out 2 pet collars with both hands. He tried to put them on Crane to control him. Nakin smiled and said, Locke is the person with the ability of the bug fruit, flea form. The long-legged tribe itself has quite amazing leg strength, and the powerful jumping ability given by the bug fruit, flea form, has greatly enhanced his leg skills. His strength is also among the best in our fallen angel pirates, relying on the advantage of the fruit ability. Nakin had no intention of fighting Crane in close combat. With both hands covered in green light, he kept throwing out pet rings from a distance, harassing and attacking Crane. He stepped hard, distanced himself, and kept changing his position. He didn't let the other party get close. Fallen angel pirates? The figure kept moving. Avoid the green collars that came one after another. He couldn't help but shrink his pupils and was a little shocked and speechless. He looked at the other party in disbelief. Are you the subordinate of the fallen angel Ai Er? She had naturally heard of the fallen angel pirates. It is said that their captain, the fallen angel Ai Er, had been offered a bounty of 600 million berries at the age of 9. Even a newly promoted Admiral Kong, who was also their direct superior, had suffered a great loss. In his early years, when he was only an admiral candidate and served as the commander of the G-11 Fortress base, he was too careless and underestimated this too young descendant of the Lunaria clan. The fleet he personally led. It was almost completely destroyed by the fallen angel Ai Erbafu and suffered heavy losses. Speed limit, right? Nakin smiled. Today, the fallen angel pirates no longer need to keep a low profile. In addition, that adult has already taken action. There is no fear of being known by the Marine. What is your purpose in attacking celestial dragons? Crane's face became solemn, and his eyes were fixed on the other party. If the other party is a member of the fallen angel pirates, under the leadership of the fallen angel Ai Erbafu, the fallen angel pirates have disappeared for so long. They have been low-key and dormant and have never come out to make trouble. The other party is deep-minded and is definitely not a brave but foolish person. Then, the fallen angel pirates deliberately attacked celestial dragons at this time. I'm afraid the purpose is not that simple. It is impossible that it is just to vent anger and want to take revenge on the world government. That would be too unwise. I heard that you, the female of the new star combination of the Marine Iron Triangle, have always been very smart. You can guess. Nakin showed a playful look, pointing to the front of Crane, who dodged her attack again. She directly ordered the Marines and CP agents who were put on pet collars by her. Catch her. How could she possibly obey your orders? Damn it, what's going on? My body is out of control. Commodore Crane, get out of the way. A group of Marines and CP agents glared at her. But the next moment, the pet auras on their bodies glowed. The whole person was shocked and moved uncontrollably. They all rushed towards Crane. Crane's face changed slightly, and he stomped his feet hard. He dodged the capture of those Marines and agents. Is it really the ability of the pet fruit? He stared at Nakin with fear. She has a photographic memory. She had seen the devil fruit illustrations before, and she is very familiar with the abilities of various fruits. When Nakin attacked before, she had already guessed it. So, she has been avoiding the contact of the green light ring. Commodore Crane, get out of the way. I'm very sorry. We can't control ourselves. In a blink of an eye, those Marines and agents. They rushed up one after another. They refused to give in. Continuous kick. At this moment, a sound of breaking through the air roared. A somewhat hideous figure rushed over like lightning. The shadows of legs all over the sky overwhelmed the atmosphere, and they were extremely fierce. He kicked the unprepared Crane continuously. Paper arts. Crane's hair stood up, and his face changed. The whole person was like a thin piece of paper, turning and moving back and forth in the storm, constantly dodging. But Locke, a long-legged tribe with the added ability of the bug fruit and flea form, was too powerful at the moment. Sorry, you are not fighting alone. Nakin laughed triumphantly. Her hands gathered the pet halo and swung it directly. Swish, swish. 2 green halos came like lightning. What? Crane, who was dodging Locke's swift attack, changed her expression. Instantly, a green halo hit her who could not be distracted and was wrapped around her neck. Then, because of being too careless, she was directly kicked violently by G. Hit on the body. Bang! Crane screamed in pain. He vomited blood and flew out. He hit the auction house behind him fiercely, raising a large amount of smoke and dust. What? Little Crane, Sengoku and Garp, who were fighting fiercely with Linlin and Little Oz, both had a change of expression and suddenly turned their heads. They looked over subconsciously. They were filled with shock and anger. You are careless. Linlin in the human beast form. He was as fast as a ghost, and 553 appeared in front of him in an instant. He slashed fiercely at Sengoku, who was already at a disadvantage and struggling, and now was distracted because of the heavy damage to the Crane. Chilla, blood splashed. Sengoku's golden body was torn apart. Although he avoided the vital points at the first time and was not beheaded by Linlin directly, but there was still a shocking, bloody gash on his chest. He was almost disemboweled and retreated. Ai Erbafu's spear, but then Linlin took advantage of the situation and did not show mercy. With a stern look in his eyes, he swung Napoleon diagonally. Observation Haki firmly locked on a Sengoku who was retreating. He slashed out, "Waigwa!" Sengoku. Garp's face changed drastically, and the little Oz on the opposite side did not mean to hold back. Shave, super spin, iron body jade. He stomped his feet hard and jumped into the air. Woohoo! In an instant, his body suddenly turned at super high speed, blowing up a fierce wind pressure. His body, which was already like steel, was covered with armament Haki. Swish! Like a cannonball, it had a residue, carrying an unparalleled impact force. It hit hard. "Get out of my way!" Garp roared. At this moment, he was like an angry lion, and his spirit was fierce. His right fist, as big as a casserole, was wrapped with powerful armament Haki, suppressing the atmosphere, fiercely blasting out. Fistbone impact. Chapter 77. Plundering Youth, Conan, Yahiko Nagato. On the number 1 peninsula, two figures collided there. Facing the furious Garp, Little Oz, the ancient giant, was inferior after all. Like a cannonball, he was blasted away fiercely. Boom! The swift green ball was directly crushed. It broke through the air at an astonishing speed, breaking one tree after another and rushing into the distance. The huge tree trunk on the no. One peninsula was directly pierced by the super-fast rotating Oz and collapsed. Oz, this scene, makes Locke, Fishman Jane, and others change color. Unexpectedly, the opponent's strength is so strong that he actually blasted Oz away. That move is one of Little Oz's killer moves. The terrifying power of the ancient giants, coupled with the powerful impact brought by the super high-speed rotation, is enough to make people's scalps numb. Especially if Oz shrinks his body to the size of a thumb, he can almost penetrate any target with the terrifying rotation force and impact force. Except for Linlin and the boss Ai Erbafu, almost no one dares to take it head-on and can only dodge. As a result, he was suppressed head-on. Don't worry, Oz is not that fragile. Linlin waved her hand. She was not worried about Oz's safety. Over the years, the members of the Fallen Angel Pirates have sparred with each other countless times. She was naturally very clear about Oz's strength. With the opponent's strong physique, he would only suffer some injuries at most. Although he was blown away directly, he could not be killed so easily. IZI. At the same time, on the other side, although Sengoku of Buddha almost sent out a shock wave the last moment to block Linglin's fierce attack, he was still blown away by surprise and crashed into the big tree behind. He was covered in blood after regaining his human form and was trying to get up in a mess. "Sengoku, are you okay?" Garp was on guard against Linlin and the others. He came to Sengoku as soon as possible. He looked at the 20 to 30 centimeters long, deep, bloody wound on his chest. He couldn't help but look ugly. Sengoku waved his hand, blood oozing from the corner of his mouth, and stared at Linlin, Locke, and the others. He looked towards the auction house again and called out with some worry, "Shawa." However, whether it was him or Garp, or the Marine and CP agents present, their faces changed, because two figures were walking out from the direction of the auction house, filled with smoke and dust. Tsuru had a green collar on her neck, and her body was a little stiff as she walked. And beside her was Nakin. Shawa. Seeing this, Sengoku Garp's face was extremely ugly. Tsuru was obviously controlled by the other party and could not resist. "Sorry, Sengoku, I distracted you." Tsuru looked at Sengoku, who was covered in blood and seriously injured. He didn't know what happened and felt a little guilty. He asked worriedly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, don't worry. Life is returned," Sengoku said. He supported his body and stood up. His muscles moved and shook suddenly. With the return of life, he controlled his muscles, suppressed the worsening of his injuries, and prevented excessive blood loss. Bulyulu at this moment. The den mushi in Tsuru's pocket suddenly rang. Nakin raised her eyebrows, searched for the den mushi from her body, and pressed the answer button. The Marine fleet has arrived and is about to surround the Sabaody archipelago. Hack Admiral is ready to land. What's the situation? Have the celestial dragons been rescued? Click. Hearing this, Saru didn't wait for her to respond. Nakin had already hung up the den mushi. Did you hear that? Seeing that Saru was controlled by the other party. An angry Garp gritted his teeth and glared at Linlin and others fiercely. You despicable guys, don't make any unnecessary struggles. Just surrender. Yes, the Marine fleet has arrived. Not even a fly can fly out of the whole island. Don't think about leaving here. Let our companions go, Sengoku said with gritted teeth. Saru was controlled by the other party, which made him and Garp hesitate. Don't worry about it. With your strength, you shouldn't be defeated so quickly, but you actually lost your sense for her. Linlin chuckled. She held Napoleon and pointed at Saru. Looking at the pale and excited Sengoku in front of him, he asked with interest, "Is that woman your lover? Or do you have a crush on her?" What nonsense! He blushed. He refuted unhappily. They're just close comrades. The three of them joined the Marine at the same time and have experienced countless battles over the years. They have already developed a deep comradeship and can trust each other with their backs. If Garp was injured before, she believed Sengoku would also be worried. Don't talk nonsense. We are just companions. And the pale Sengoku blushed. The other party is the flower of the Marine that countless Marine officers admire and compete for. He naturally has some thoughts about the heroic and beautiful Crane, but he didn't dare to speak for a long time for fear of being rejected by this comrade. And then it would be awkward to meet each other, and they couldn't get along as casually as they do now. He had to suppress that thought and said righteously, "This kind of comradeship that can trust your back, a cruel pirate like you, will not understand." TSK, a stubborn guy. Linlin curled her lips. She looked at the other party with contempt. She was not blind to the other party's performance. That Iron Fist Garp also lost his composure, but not as much as he did. At least he was able to maintain basic calmness and did not lose his composure to the point where Oz caught the opportunity and directly hit him hard. But I have a more interesting way. Her eyes rolled. She showed an evil smile. She came directly in front of Crane and Nakin. This gave Sengoku, Garp, and others a bad feeling. What are you going to do? Sengoku's face changed drastically. What? Linlin grinned. Her amazing claws stroked Crane's heroic face. What a beautiful face. Ai Erbafu should like it very much. I wish I could grow up so quickly said. The ferocious claws. It grabbed Crane's entire body. Oh, stop it. Don't come over, or I won't guarantee her life. Listening to Linlin's naked threat, Sengoku and Garp, who were so excited that they were about to rush forward, could not help but stop. They stared at each other with murderous eyes and were indescribably angry. They were even more nervous and anxious. But the next moment, in their unbelievable eyes, Crane became old at a speed visible to the naked eye. His dark blue hair turned gray. His face was full of wrinkles, and his body became hunched. What did you do to me? Feeling the youth that was taken away, his whole body began to become a little weak. Crane was full of excitement, but he didn't expect that even his voice. It turned out to be unusually old. How was it possible? Witnessing this horrifying scene, Sengoku and Garp couldn't help but open their mouths. Even the Marines and CP agents present were a little horrified. This flower of Marine, which has become famous in recent years, has both strength and beauty, and is highly sought after by the majority of Marines, has turned into a white-haired old woman in the blink of an eye. It was so creepy. He, who was released by Linlin, looked at his wrinkled hands and the aging body and couldn't help screaming. Somewhat collapsed, unable to accept it. "Oh, what did you do to me?" Her eyes were blazing. She glared at Charlotte Linlin. She didn't expect that the other party's ability was so terrifying that it could directly make people old. This was a nightmare for her who had just celebrated her 21st birthday and was in her prime. It was more painful than being killed directly by the enemy. "Mama, what did you do?" Linlin licked her lips and laughed strangely. "I didn't do anything. I just took away your youth. Now you are an 80-year-old woman. Not only your body is aging. If you could live 100 years, good thing. You should be able to live another 10 years. By the way, a reminder, unless I take the initiative to return your life to you, even if you defeat me or even kill me, You will not get back the life you lost. What? UBD. Sengoku and Garp's faces changed drastically. Some were furious, staring at Linlin with murderous eyes. And Tsuru himself was pale. The Marine and CP agents were all tingling. While glaring at each other, looking at this devil-like woman, they couldn't help but feel fear. Subconsciously step back a few steps. Charlotte Linlin, what do you want to do? He frowned. He took a deep breath. He tried to stay calm. The other party obviously didn't intend to kill him, and he was not afraid of the threats from Sengoku and Garp. Obviously, he had other purposes. Mama, you are such a smart woman. Linlin smiled and said, if you can kill Buddha Sengoku, I will give you back your lost youth. Or Buddha Sengoku, if you kill your companion Monkey D. Garp, then I will not only let her go, but also give her life back. What? Don't even think about it. Chapter 78. Naked Conspiracy. Destroy the flower of Marine? A whole you'll never succeed. You despicable fellow, who will be fooled by you. Listening to Charlotte Linlin's threat. It's not just Sengoku, Garp, and Crane. The Marines and CP agents present couldn't help but stare angrily. The other party is too despicable. They actually want the Marines' Iron Triangle to kill each other. Don't try to threaten me with such a clumsy trick. Even if I die, I won't be threatened by you. Crane looked at Linlin with a determined face and spoke coldly. She would not hurt her comrades who had been with her day and night, fought side by side, and could take care of each other for the sake of her life or her youth and beauty. Sengoku, Garp, don't listen to her bewitching, Crane said with a firm tone and shouted directly to the two of them. If any of you really die because of this, I will definitely feel guilty for the rest of my life, and I can only die to apologize. Although it was a little hard to accept that she suddenly became an old woman. However, she was not afraid of death and compromised with these despicable, shameless, insidious, and cunning pirates. She didn't want to embarrass Sengoku and Garp, and she didn't want them to do anything stupid. /JVI. Hearing Crane say this, Sengoku and Garp were shocked, not to mention, although they were not naive enough to think that the other party would let them go easily. But just now Sengoku was really ready to speak, trying to use himself as a hostage to exchange Crane. Damn it, except for the body of celestial dragons, all other celestial dragons disappeared. At this time, the angry CP-7 captain, 800, ran out of the auction house with his men. His face changed, and he gritted his teeth and glared at Charlotte Linlin and Locke and others. Aho! Where did you hide the world nobles? He didn't expect that in the auction house, except for the unconscious guests in the seats. There are also the auction house staff and the agents sent by the world government to protect celestial dragons. There's only a celestial dragon corpse with its head and body crushed, which is horrible to look at. Wearing a space suit, identify the identity. The whereabouts of otherworld nobles are unknown. Don't you CP claim to be omnipresent? Go find it yourself. Linlin glanced at him, sneered, and ignored. What a righteous and fearless Marine rising star. Looking at the determined and unyielding Crane, she admired it, but also showed a distressed look as if she didn't know what to do next. This is difficult. Your way of threatening is outdated, Linlin. Naikin on the side chuckled. In the eyes of Tsuru, Sengoku, Garp, and others, who were somewhat suspicious, she jumped lightly and jumped onto Linlin's shoulder, whispering a few words in her ear. Oh, Linlin raised her eyebrows. She showed a devilish smile, full of eagerness. You still have a way, Nakin. Oh, what else do you want to do? Garp stepped hard and was about to rush up. Iron body, Jade. But at this moment, a sharp sound of breaking through the air. A negligible green afterimage came like a bullet, or in other words, the speed far exceeded the bullet, making Garp's hair stand up subconsciously, and he retreated narrowly. Bang! The big trees were pierced by the green afterimage, leaving shocking fingerholes. What is this? The pupils of Tsuru, Sengoku, and others shrank sharply. In a blink of an eye, a green figure enlarged at a speed visible to the naked eye and blocked in front of Garp. It was little Oz, who was a little embarrassed, but not seriously injured. You actually knocked me away. Your strength is almost comparable to Linlin's. Oz, with a green face and fangs, shook his big head. He glared at Garp fiercely with a sneer and blocked him firmly. Stand still and don't. Linlin looked directly at Sengoku and the others who were still trying to rush up and sneered. If you dare to move, I will immediately have someone chop off the celestial dragon's palms and cut off their tongues. I want to see the celestial dragon's corpse in the auction house. She looked directly at the CP official who was in charge. With a grin, revealing amazing fangs, he said grimly, "You CP agents should know that we can really do it." "What? You dare? Everyone, don't move rashly. Everything is for the safety of the world's nobles." Hearing this, the Marine and CP agents present all changed their expressions. Glazing at the devilish woman in front of them, they gritted their teeth. While the CP7 official was angry, his face changed again, full of fear. When he thought of the bloody and unrecognizable celestial dragon's corpse, he couldn't help but feel a little numb. He had to give orders to other agents at the first time and signaled to Sengoku, the Marine Major, Dei, to stop the Marine action. A grieved compromise. Dare not move rashly. Aren't you looking for celestial dragons? Linlin laughed strangely. He took out a mirror directly from the bag on his waist. Barry, throw out a celestial dragons. $789. A voice came from the mirror. In the eyes of Sengoku and others who shrank sharply. Swish. This round mirror enlarged at a speed visible to the naked eye. A white figure came out directly from it, although there was no bubble hood, and his nose and face were bruised and swollen, extremely embarrassed. But the gorgeous space suit and unique hairstyle let Sengoku, Garp, Crane, and others, the Marine and CP agents present, recognize at once that the other party was most likely the kidnapped world noble. Phoenix Saint, the leader of CP7, recognized the other party at the first time and cried out there. Woo-woo. Phoenix Saint, who was wearing a green halo around his neck and a slave collar, was full of excitement, but he couldn't speak. Because the previous pet fruit ability of Nakin had not expired. He was forbidden to speak. My loyal servant, you are allowed to speak. Nakin crossed her arms. A playful look flashed in her eyes. As her pet fruit ability user gave the order. The green collar on the neck of Phoenix Saint, who was lying on the ground and unable to get up, shone with a strange light. He was shouting in fear. Marine, help me. Marine, help me. Call Marine Admiral to me immediately. Otherwise, your whole family will become the lowest slaves. Catch all these hateful thugs. I will cut them into pieces. For a moment, Sengoku's eyelids twitched, and Garp clenched his fists, his face livid. What he hated most was these arrogant guys who didn't treat anyone as a human being, but he had to help rescue them. I'm very sorry. Phoenix, please wait a moment. CP7 officials sweated on their foreheads and had to bite the bullet and said, We are trying to save you now. Charlotte Linlin, release Phoenix and the other celestial dragons quickly. You can't escape, Sengoku said loudly. Go. I order you to step on the heads of celestial dragons. However, Nakin suddenly ordered he. She smiled strangely. This is a rare opportunity. You must cherish it. What? Sengoku's face changed drastically. He was shaking with anger, and his eyes were murderous and glared at Linlin, Nakin, and others. You dare. At this moment, even though he claimed to be smarter than others, he was a little cold all over, and a bone-chilling coldness surged out. This was a naked conspiracy of the other party, without any intention of covering up. He was not afraid of being guessed by them. It was too vicious. This was simply to force he to a dead end and completely destroy the other party's marine career, and even the whole life. These celestial dragons who claim to be gods, high and mighty, and extremely arrogant. They don't care if she is coerced or not, as long as she does it. The fate of this flower of marine. Death is inevitable. Chapter 79, Zone Awakens. Strong Ai Air. Assholes. Don't even think about it. At this moment, Garp and Sengoku, with livid faces, no longer cared about so much and rushed out. Because they couldn't just watch the crane, whom they regarded as a sister and protected, being destroyed by these villains with such a despicable scheme. Shave. And Locke and Little Oz also stepped hard and blocked there directly. Beast Yen. Shadowless kick. Get out of the way. T. After images. Fists and feet collided, fists collided, and four figures fought fiercely. Not only Garp was held back by Little Oz. Sengoku, who was severely injured by Linlin before and barely relied on the return of life to suppress the worsening of his injuries, and his strength was sharply reduced. As a long-legged tribe, he was also a user of the bug fruit fleeform ability, and his leg skills were not bad. Locke intercepted him, but just when Sengoku was about to use the ability of the mystical beast Big Buddha form again. Get back! Linlin shouted coldly. The sharp claws slashed without hesitation. I warned you. Cheat! A blood-colored air blade broke through the air. Bang! A deep cut was left on the ground, accompanied by a shrill scream. A bloody big hand flew up directly. Phoenix Saint lay on the ground, howling miserably. A palm was chopped off. Ew. Sengoku and Garp paused. CP and Marine present couldn't help but change their expressions. Mama, this is just a small warning. The blade pointed directly at Phoenix's head. Linlin grinned. Next time, it will be his head. Sengek Rear Admiral, Garp Rear Admiral. The CP-7 leader shouted angrily. What are you doing? Do you want to kill celestial dragons? Damn it, stop! Sengoku and Garp gritted their teeth, feeling aggrieved. They wanted to attack, but were stopped by Locke and Little Oz, who were not weak. You demons. He looked pale. His body moved forward uncontrollably. His right foot trembled and stepped on Phoenix's head. Moreover, under Nakin's order, he stepped hard continuously. At this moment, the flower of Marine, who should have a promising future and high spirits, seemed to have lost all his energy and spirit, and his old body became more hunched. Garp and Sengoku were furious when they saw this scene. The Marine and CP agents present were furious, and their scalps were numb. These lawless and unscrupulous villains were too vicious and insidious. They could foresee the fate of this Marine flower. At the same time, they were all a little worried. Many people stepped back subconsciously, fearing that they would be targeted by these people and do the same. Oh, you damned lowly person, dare to step on my head, I will kill you, skin you, and pull out your tendons. Phoenix Saint, whose head was broken and bleeding, was already rolling in pain because his right palm was cut off, and his head was covered with cold sweat. At this moment, his face was distorted, full of humiliation and anger. He cursed. Wait, Phoenix Saint. She was just controlled by someone. Sengoku looked anxious. Explain loudly there, trying to save the situation. That's because she's too weak. She was controlled by someone, causing me to be humiliated. Phoenix Saint's eyes were full of bloodshot, and he cursed wildly and crazily. It's all your fault, you two useless Marines, causing me to have my hands cut off. Hurry up and save me, or I'll make you look bad. Garp's face turned black. He was so angry that he wanted to rush up and kick him hard. Don't be impulsive, Garp. Sengoku's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly pulled the impulsive Garp. Damn it, the Marine Rear Admiral, who was known as the Iron Fist and should have been full of vigor and vitality, was full of frustration. He gritted his teeth and glared at Linlin, Nakin and others, and even the celestial dragons, wishing he could immediately send out a fist-bone conflict to blow them all away. But at this time, Nakin slowly added to Crane, who was controlled by the power of the pet fruit. I order you to blind the eyes of celestial dragons with finger pistol. You dare, damn you. However, Locke, Jane, Little Oz, and others, they blocked the furious Sengoku and Garp without hesitation. And those CP agents and Marine were afraid that the other party would chop celestial dragons with a knife, so they didn't dare to rush up rashly. The eyes were full of unspeakable anger. Oh, stop it. Hearing this, Phoenix Saint was terrified. He shouted at the trembling Crane in front of him. Otherwise, your whole family will be killed. Sorry, Phoenix Saint, due to Nakin's order. The Crane's actions were out of control and could not be stopped at all. Two fingers pierced out like bullets. The next moment, blood splattered. Phoenix Saint couldn't stop screaming. His eyes were bloody. It was horrible to look at. Damn eyes. Phoenix Saint was pale and sweaty. His face was distorted, and he cursed, "Marine, CP, what on earth are you doing? When I get back, I will kill you all. Damn it. Phoenix Saint, you're only a few meters away from. Marine Admiral is already on his way. Please be patient." Sengoku and Garp, who were livid, almost bit their teeth. And those Marine soldiers and CP agents couldn't help but change color and turn pale. The CP-7 leader, who was in the lead, could only bite the bullet and speak carefully there. After all, he didn't dare to rush up without caring about the safety of celestial dragons. Mama, what a good show." Linlin, who had returned to human form, smiled and spoke. In fact, if it weren't for her ability to manipulate blood to stop the bleeding, the Phoenix Saint would have died long ago because of the chopped-off palm and the failure to treat it in time and the excessive bleeding. And the old and hunched he, who seemed to be 10 years older, pursed his lips and looked pale. He put away his bloody right hand, as if he had already accepted his fate and stopped struggling. He had no intention of apologizing or begging for mercy from the celestial dragons, because she knew that such an unforgivable crime would be meaningless no matter how much she explained. The arrogant celestial dragons would never care whether she was forced by others or not. Even if Rurin really acted understanding and easy to talk to in order to survive, they would definitely turn against her directly afterwards. In order to vent her anger and wash away the shame, she punished herself. To show her dignity as a descendant of the Creator, she was high above and could not be offended. "I want you to kick celestial dragons' balls." And Naked on the side laughed strangely and ordered again. His eyes were red and bloodshot, and he glared. But his body was out of control. He kicked celestial dragon's lower body hard. Bang! Crack! Ah! Phoenix Saint screamed again. At this moment, he knew that he was completely useless. This celestial dragon was hysterical and completely crazy, full of resentment and endless anger. Damn it. You were the female Marine just now, right? I'm going to kill you. This saint will torture you and your family to death. Chop them up and feed them to the dogs. Listening to celestial dragon's vicious abuse, he had no expression on his face, his old body trembled, and he seemed to have completely lost his energy. Her life has been ruined by these despicable pirates. She has been determined to become a Marine and defend justice since she was a child, but her career as a Marine has come to an end. There is no future to speak of. Fortunately, she has been alone for a long time and has nothing to worry about. Otherwise, these celestial dragons will do anything to vent their anger. Damn it. Sengoku gritted his teeth and his face turned black. Garp's eyes were red and he was extremely angry. He was angry at Linlin and others and dissatisfied with celestial dragons. Especially if Garp hadn't been pulled by Sengoku, he would have punched the arrogant and disgusting celestial dragons. He hit them again without hesitation. "Don't be so arrogant, pirates!" At this moment, a tall figure with amazing momentum and full of ferocity appeared. He was surrounded by black, flame-like streamers, and suddenly rushed from a distance, swift and hidden. The powerful observation Haki directly locked onto Linlin, who was more than 7 meters tall and as eye-catching as a little giant. The ferocious claws, like a sickle, carried the powerful Haki and flashed coldly. "That's it. So fast." Locke, Nakin, Jane, and others on the side were shocked. Their observation Haki couldn't even react at all and couldn't accurately predict the opponent's trajectory. This guy, Marine Admiral, the beast was extremely dangerous. The approaching breath made Linlin, who was the first to bear the brunt, change color. In an instant, his nerves were tense and his hair stood up. Holding Napoleon, he was ready. The opponent's speed was too fast. It was terrifying. However, the figure with the flames suddenly changed his face and subconsciously turned sideways. A huge figure with a terrifying momentum, like a prehistoric beast out of its cage, suddenly came into his sight. It made his pupils dilate. The sound of breaking through the air continued. A terrifying, huge fist print came over with lightning speed and mercilessly. What? Iron Claw hacked change color. Caught off guard, there was no time to dodge. Without thinking, The hands wrapped around armament Haki were almost crossed in front of him. Bang! The terrifying power came like lightning. His face changed, his arms were burning and numb. Like a cannonball, it flew straight out. Bang, bang. The towering trees with lush branches and leaves were directly and ruthlessly broken. A large cloud of dust was raised. Don't get in the way. The tall and majestic figure was full of coldness. It had golden horns on its head, a ferocious face for wings on its back, was covered in green scales, and had a long snake tail. Standing there, people couldn't help but feel a little scared. Chapter 80 Iron Claw Hack. Ancient species Therizinosaur form gurgle. That monster, the one that was just blown away, couldn't it be? Hack Admiral, the whole process, from the beginning to the end. It just happened in a flash. But it shocked Sengoku, Garp, and others. The Marine and CP agents present were full of disbelief and screamed out. The pupils shrank and their mouths opened wide. Cold sweat flowed. Woo! But the next moment, Sengoku and Garp in the field froze, and cold sweat flowed. Instantly, their muscles tensed, and without hesitation, they rushed behind them. Armament Haki hardening. The words were not finished. There was no time for them to react. Carrying 4 wings and surrounded by amazing lightning, the terrifying tall figure had already attacked forcefully. No mercy, fierce and fierce. One punch. 09, 3-inch one kick. Bang! Ah, the screams echoed, almost at the same time. 2 young and energetic figures. As if they were hit hard, their faces were distorted. The eyes bulged, and they flew out of the mouth like lightning because of the dirt. The loud noises continued. The smoke and dust kept spreading. The towering trees were directly broken at the waist. In the end, almost at the same time, accompanied by a loud boom, the ground in 2 different directions cracked and collapsed directly. It was also fortunate that this was the Sabeti archipelago, and the soil was relatively soft. Otherwise, the 2 would definitely be injured. Sengoku, Rear Admiral. Garp, Rear Admiral. Gurgle. So fast. I can't react at all. How did this monster come out? Looking at the tall figure with wings on his back, ferocious face, and terrifying posture in front of him. Thinking of Sengoku and Garp, who were blown away in an instant and couldn't even resist. The Marine and CP agents present were all shocked, sweating and shocked. No one expected that the 2 most dazzling new stars of the new generation of Marine would be so vulnerable in front of each other and were easily crushed. Sengoku, Garp, witnessing this scene, the crane, who was controlled by the power of the pet fruit, and came stiffly to the Phoenix, Saint who was knocked unconscious by Sengoku's Conqueror's Haki, couldn't help but widen his eyes. The whole person's face changed drastically, and he shouted worriedly there. Ahem. Deep in the forest, Garp staggered with blood all over his body. He spat out blood. His face was pale and extremely weak. He looked at the tall figure with a terrifying momentum in the distance with disbelief. With just one kick, he felt that his internal organs were about to shatter, and he didn't know how many bones were broken. He tried to stand up, but collapsed to the ground again with strong unwillingness, and his vision gradually fell into darkness. Who is that guy? Crackle. Flames were rising behind his head. That tall and terrifying figure changed at a speed visible to the naked eye, returning to human form. A pair of black wings, coupled with a handsome face, like a fallen angel in mythology. It was completely different from the previous ferocious and violent appearance. Marine's future? That's all. He snorted indifferently. He glanced at the smoke-filled area in the distance. He was full of murderous intent and was about to rush out again. He was ready to leave Sengoku the Buddha and Garp the Iron Fist here forever. Fallen angel Ai Erbafu. But at this moment, a ferocious figure with amazing momentum and extremely violent rushed over like lightning. His skin was hideous and ugly, with fangs like beasts and strange streamers like black flames lingering around his body. Waving the claws wrapped around Haki, sharp as a sickle, shining with cold light. He clawed at Ai Erbafu, who was about to attack. He couldn't help but stand up. Come! The sound of metal clashing was deafening. The strong wind made it difficult for people to open their eyes. Ai Erbafu had a blank expression, and his right wrist was covered with a military color Haki. He steadily blocked the opponent's extremely fast attack that was enough to tear apart all obstacles. Tisk, it's really exaggerated. He raised his eyebrows, looking down at the fierce and ferocious monster in front of him, glancing at the strange streamers like black flames, eyes full of fruit color, Zoan dragon fruit. Ancient species, scythe dragon form, and it has awakened. Yes, this hack admiral. It is the rare ancient species scythe dragon form ability user. The sickle-like claws that can tear everything are the origin of his nickname, Iron Claw. He has already developed his own fruit ability to the awakening level, which also makes him far beyond the ordinary demon fruit power, with quite terrifying speed and strength, and extremely amazing endurance and recovery. In terms of speed alone, even Linlin .0, who is still relatively young and needs to improve his strength, may not be able to match it. Ai Erbafu, Ai Lord/boss. And at this time, seeing the sudden appearance of the visitor, Linlin, Locke, Nakin, and others were all a little surprised. You did a good job. Ai turned his head slightly. Looking at Linlin and others, he praised. He get Ai's praise. Linlin narrowed her crescent eyes, very happy, confronted and stalemated with the fallen angel Ai. Seeing Garp and Sengoku, they were hit hard by this suddenly appearing Lunaria monster and lost their fighting power. Iron Claw Hack stared at the tall figure in front of him, full of vigilance and alertness, and shouted to the sky without raising his head. Take Sengoku and Garp back to Marine. These two are the most dazzling new stars in Marine in recent years. The qualifications shown, even he, the Admiral, has to recognize. As long as they grow up, they will definitely become the mainstay of naval headquarters in the future. There is absolutely no room for error. Yes, Hack, my God. At this moment in the sky, a huge vulture flapped its wings and flew down. It grabbed the unconscious Garp like lightning and flew into the air. Swish! It pounced in the direction of Sengoku again and soon grabbed a bloody figure again. At an astonishing speed, it flew in the direction of naval headquarters. Great, it's Vice Admiral Bays. Crane's eyes narrowed. At the same time, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, no matter what her future fate will be. But after all, he didn't want Sengoku 3.1 and Garp, his two comrades, to get into trouble. A user of the bird fruit ability, watching the huge vulture flap its wings and fly away. Although he wanted to take action, facing the Iron Claw Hack who was blocking here and staring at him, Ai still didn't chase him directly. In particular, he had to guard against this Marine Admiral who had awakened the ancient species ability and was astonishingly fast, who might directly attack Linlin, Nakin, Locke, and others. But looking at the controlled crane not far away, Ai couldn't help but reveal a sneer. I want to see what choice you two will make next. He really didn't expect that Linlin and others would actually meet the future Marine Iron Triangle in the Sabaody Archipelago and also caught Crane and did such a thing. However, by accident, he had a lot of ideas and aroused his interest. In this case, this future Marine think tank. I will accept it without hesitation. Chapter 81, Hunting Celestial Dragons? Fallen Angel Ai. In the chaotic field, Iron Claw Hack looked stern. With a cold gaze, he stared at the Lunaria monster in front of him, who was too young to be true, but had already possessed quite amazing strength, which made him not underestimated. He said in a deep voice, I didn't expect that you sent people to attack celestial dragons. You have been dormant for so long, and you attacked the Marine fortress and kidnapped the world nobles. You, the remnant of the Lunaria, want to take revenge on the world government. Before he finished speaking, he stepped on his feet and his figure flashed suddenly. In an instant, he rushed to more than 10 meters away, and with lightning speed, he grabbed the bloody Phoenix Saint and tried to grab the control crane. Don't even think about it. Linglin's face changed after reacting, and he waved his knife to stop it immediately. Swinging Napoleon, he chopped it over. Come! In the blink of an eye, sparks splashed. The extremely sharp sickle claws collided with a large saber with cold light. 30 swish. After a hard fight with Linlin, Hack Admiral was extremely decisive and gave up rescuing He without hesitation. He took Phoenix Saint and retreated like lightning. No, this is just a small gift. Ai looked calm. He had no intention of stopping, because letting Phoenix Saint, who was disabled by He, the Flower of Marine, go back would be much more useful than killing him or taking him hostage. Anyway, he still had other chips in his hand, and more than one. Are you Marine Admiral? Hurry, kill them immediately. No, catch them. And that damn female Marine who dared to hurt this saint. At this time, knowing that he had been rescued by Marine Admiral, Phoenix Saint, who was blind, was full of excitement. The remaining claws grabbed Hack Admiral's clothes and screamed hysterically, "I will hang all these guys up and cut them into pieces, torture to death." Phoenix Saint, that female Marine, just now. Hack Admiral frowned and tried to explain. He almost didn't recognize Crane when he saw her old and frail appearance. But although he didn't know exactly what happened, he could guess with his eyes closed that the other party was obviously controlled. But these guys' schemes were too vicious. Phoenix Saint didn't just have one palm chopped off and his eyes blinded. As a man, Hack Admiral naturally knew how much damage it would take to have his offspring root abolished, which was enough to drive a proud man completely crazy. Not to mention the extremely arrogant world nobles who regarded themselves as gods. Even though Crane was young, he showed extremely good talents, second only to Admiral seeds like Sengoku and Garp. And he was extremely intelligent and had outstanding strategies, which made him a very rare talent. But if something like this happens with the Celestial Dragon's brutality, even if Marshal William is willing to plead for her, he may not be able to save her. I don't care. She deserves to die for offending the descendants of the Creator, even when facing the powerful Marine Admiral, who is the highest combat power in the naval headquarters. Phoenix Saint's attitude is equally arrogant, no different from his previous treatment of Sengoku, the Marine Rear Admiral, and he said angrily, "Even if she is controlled by someone, it is because she is too weak and failed to save me, causing me to become a useless person now. She is unforgivable. Phoenix Saint is injured and emotionally unstable. She needs treatment as soon as possible. Send Phoenix Saint back to the Holy Land, Hua, immediately." Hack Admiral's face darkened, but he was too lazy to talk nonsense with Phoenix Saint, who was out of control and didn't listen to anyone. He was thrown directly to the CP agents, who hurriedly ran up nearby. At the same time, several medical staff hurriedly brought a stretcher, carried the cursing Phoenix Saint onto it, and ran away, to send this world noble to a safe place, and then give him emergency treatment. Damn pirates, so despicable. Hack Admiral gritted his teeth, looking at Crane, who had performed extremely well in the battles he led to eliminate pirates several times, and whom he, the Admiral, admired very much and should have a promising future. At the same time, he felt a little regretful and a little aggrieved. Even if he, the Marine Admiral, cherished talents, faced with such a situation, he was somewhat helpless. Even if Crane was rescued, I'm afraid he would not be able to escape the punishment of celestial dragons, and he might end up in a worse situation. Fallen Angel Ai Erbafu. Any attempt to provoke the world government is just stupid behavior. You can't escape such a serious crime. Hack Admiral looked directly at Ai Erbafu and Linlin. Locke and others said coldly, "You don't understand how powerful the foundation of the world government, which has firmly ruled the sea for hundreds of years, is. Next, you will be hunted endlessly until the end of hell. Be sensible and release the other world nobles." Hunting me to the end of hell. Warning and threat to Hack Admiral. Ai Erbafu ignored it at all, but sarcastically said, "Haven't the Lunaria tribe and the world government been fighting to the death? You still want me to release those celestial dragons? You, the Marine Admiral, are too beautiful." At this point, he looked at the Iron Claw Admiral indifferently, sneered, and said, "Tell those high-ranking guys in the world government for me that from now on, the offense and defense will change. Don't they like to hunt and kill other rare 040 races at will? From today on, I will hunt celestial dragons one by one until the celestial dragons are extinct." Bold! Hearing this, Iron Claw, Hak's face changed greatly, and he was shocked and angry. The Marines and government agents present were all extremely shocked and angry. While glaring at Ai Air, he couldn't help but feel a chill. The other party was a lunatic, and he actually wanted to hunt celestial dragons. No, I have to take back what I just said. Ai Air stared at Hack Admiral. Suddenly, he showed a grim smile. The right hand directly pulled out the weapon behind him that looked like a broadsword, with a very long handle and a giant spear-like shape, the barbarian dragon Hoko. The exaggeratedly large barbarian dragon, Hoko, pointed directly at the other party and said murderously, "You, the Marine Admiral, have no chance to go back. This is what I want to say." Iron Claw, Hack laughed in anger, his eyes cold. Holding the extremely sharp sickle claw, he also revealed a murderous intent. "Today you, the remnant of the Lunaria clan, have no chance to leave this island." Boo. Swish. The next moment, one big and one small, two figures with amazing momentum disappear at the same time. The cold and shining big Hoko and the sharp sickle claw. They collided fiercely. Come. Chapter 82. Angry Iron Claws. Meeting the Master on a moonlit night. Clang ISYY. Sharp sickle claws. Wrapped with high-level armed color. Clashing with the extremely long and heavy barbarian dragon formation. The sound of metal clashing was deafening, and two figures with amazing momentum collided, and the airwaves rolled. As an ancient species, the sickle dragon form has the ability to use it. In the awakening mode, Hack Admiral's height is no less than 4 or 5 meters. But compared to Ai Air, who is 9 meters tall in human form, his height is obviously not in the same order of magnitude. The scene of the two people confronting each other, it looked inexplicably funny. However, as the person involved, the ground under his feet cracked and collapsed. The unparalleled force made Hack Admiral change color. The whole person was shocked and took a few steps back. The claws covered with Haki trembled violently and were a little numb. We just broke into this island. He was accidentally blown away in a hurry. The fallen angel Ai Air used the ability of the mythical beast species Quetzalcoatl form to enter the human beast form. But he didn't expect that the other party would have such exaggerated power in human form. Ai Air Linlin, and everyone, we are here. At this time, in the distant sky, a thundercloud floated over. Gerd and Lily were on it. Gerd and Lily, you are here. Eyes lit up, seeing Gerd, her good friend. Linlin, who had recovered her human form, smiled, waved her hands happily at them, showing her innocence. Was there any trace of the bloodthirsty and brutal demonic posture just now? Linlin, since Lily and Gerd have come, then you could just merge directly, holding the barbarian dragon Hoko. Hit the Admiral of Headquarters head on. The tall Ai Air smiled and said to Linlin without looking back, destroy all the warships in Marine and evacuate from here. The giant Hoko in his hand. It was forged by Ai Air for himself 2 years ago. It was inspired by the weapon of the boss of the 7 mercenaries, Mangu, in a hot-blooded comic that he had read in his memory, the Hoko, so he named it Manlong. It is 12 meters long, much longer than his height. It is not an ordinary sword or spear. The giant, broad-bladed spearhead is almost equivalent to a sword, but it has an extremely long handle. Although the weight is extremely exaggerated, it is indestructible and extremely sharp. It is similar to the big saber Napoleon in Ling's hand, which can be compared with those famous swords on the sea, which are ranked among the top 10 in the world, but is still too light for him. A natural monster with infinite power, and the power cannot really satisfy him. So, he ordered the Hell Chamber of Commerce to collect various rare metal minerals with tough materials and extremely high hardness for him to forge a supreme sword that really fits him. Yes, Ai Air, Sir Locke, Jane, Nakin, and others agreed. They naturally knew that the next battle on Sabati Archipelago was not something they could participate in. If Gerd merged with Linlin, that would be the truly terrifying Shinigami. To destroy the Marine fleet, they didn't need to make any effort at all. Mama, no problem. Linlin bared her teeth and laughed. She shook the shrunken mirror and signaled to Nakin, Locke, and others. Barry, lead Nakin and the others in. Baji, no problem. Barry, who had been on standby in the mirror world, directly enlarged the mirror. Shoot, TXT, don't let them escape. Shoot at that weird mirror. Seeing these criminals trying to escape, the Marine and agents present all opened fire directly. Many people even shot at the magnifying mirror, trying to destroy it. You guys are really in the way. You guys. Linlin narrowed her eyes and swung the blade in her hand. The fierce wind pressure directly sent the incoming bullets and shells flying. Buzz. Then, her eyes were stern. A strong conqueror's Haki swept out. Plop, plop. There was no surprise. One by one, Marine and CP agents rolled their eyes and fell there. Except for the world government personnel who had escorted Phoenix sane away and were already far away from the battlefield. Everyone else lost consciousness. BUBI, all at once. Locke, Jane, Little Oz, and others. They flew out one after another and swept into the mirror world. You unforgivable pirates, don't even think about leaving. Seeing this, his eyes narrowed. Hack Admiral was shocked and angry. He stomped his feet and rushed out directly. Try to stop. That's not your decision. The sound of breaking the wind was whistling. The sharp and huge barbarian dragon Hokori danced with the wind. With the special observation Haki, Ai Air, who had already seen through his mind in advance, reacted just as quickly. Even the experienced giant warriors felt that the barbarian dragon Hokori was a bit heavy and could not be easily wielded with both hands. In his hands, it seemed to be light, like a swimming dragon, extremely flexible. The whole person waved it with one hand without any pressure, transformed into a terrifying cold light. Chopping. Clang. Sparks flew. The sharp claws blocked the huge spearhead. The ground under his feet cracked and collapsed. The Marine Admiral took advantage of the powerful force and retreated like lightning. He had no intention of stalemate with the other party and tried to use his speed advantage to attack Linlin and others again. Chi, a cold light flashed. The huge spear tip slashed fiercely from the air. Hack Admiral's hair stood up and he dodged. Swish. The sound of breaking through the air was whistling. An exaggeratedly large and terrifying crescent-shaped slash directly tore through the atmosphere and blasted over. Boom, boom. The earth was ruthlessly torn apart, leaving behind a shocking, huge gully. The momentum did not decrease, and it went towards the sea. DVD. The sea was boiling and surging. The exaggerated trench was there. It was jaw-dropping. My scalp was numb. Next, after we leave, you'll be free. At this time, Nakin jumped. While rushing towards a mirror world, he said to He with a strange smile. Damn it, he gritted his teeth. He wanted to tear the other party into pieces. But no matter how angry he was, he couldn't resist. Mama, good luck, get out. Linlin was full of jokes. He grabbed the other party with his big hand and threw him out. He was like an arrow from a bow, falling straight into the Marine camp. A large cloud of dust was raised. Damn it, Ironclaw Hack's face was livid. But he was frightened by the terrible power of the fallen angel, Ai Air. He had to be on guard and be vigilant to the other party at all times. He could only watch Nakin and others disappear. Swish! In the blink of an eye, the strange mirror shrank again and returned to its original state. It was collected by Linlin. Hera, then Ai Air. I'm leaving first. She didn't hesitate and pressed her feet. Easily jumped onto the floating thundercloud Hera. Under the furious eyes of Ironclaw Hack, he flew towards Lily and Gerd. Tempest kick, long. Ironclaw Hack was terrifying. His figure was like lightning, and his right foot kicked out violently. Swish! A huge slash directly tore through the air. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a lifelike, fang-bearing dragon, roaring there. Straight to Thundercloud Hera and Linlin on it. Mama, no need to send it off. Linlin saw this, sneered, and was also unwilling to be outdone. Swish! Strange bloodlight lingered around blade. She looked stern, swung Napoleon, and slashed directly without courtesy. See you on the moonlit night. Chi! A cold light flashed. A bloody crescent-shaped slash broke through the air. It collided fiercely with a huge dragon-shaped slash that came to attack. Chapter 83. Haki is unrivaled, fierce confrontation, that woman, on the messy battlefield. Iron Claw, Hack couldn't help but shrink his pupils. His eyes were fixed on the tall figure in the sky, while watching the other party so easily block him and guard against the fallen angel Ai Er. He had already secretly accumulated strength there, attacking without holding back. Even this Marine admiral couldn't believe it, although it was not clear whether the other party was a girl from the...
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.